Last time, it was with great difficulty that Chen Xiang managed to enter the dragon's resting area from the center of the earth. He felt that he could also use this method to enter the Chen martial continent's dragon vein. Last time, it was with great difficulty that Chen Xiang managed to enter the dragon's resting area from the center of the earth. He felt that he could also use this method to enter the Chen martial continent's dragon vein. Long Shui did not stop Chen Xiang, although it was a bit risky. "Little naughty dragon, do you have anything related to the tomb in your memories? Don't hide it from me, it's very important to me." At this time, he had already went through the Pa-S sage below the Yuming deep abyss and entered the depths of the earth. With Fire Dragon sword by his side, he did not need to resist the powerful flame essence. The core of the Earth's fire essence was constantly growing stronger. If not for the Fire Dragon sword, Chen Xiang would never be able to walk around this place so easily. Long Shui did not reply. He was obviously considering something. Chen Xiang did not rush her. He already knew that Long Shui was hiding a lot of things. Chen Xiang confirmed the direction. He was heading and headed towards the direction of Devil Continent. On the way there, he could use a very fast speed, and at this moment, he was secretly impressed by the power of the Fire Dragon that could refine such a powerful Fire Dragon sword and force the flame essence to retreat. Even the White Tiger doesn't know about the matter of that tomb. Do you think that I would know about it? Long Shui finally spoke, but Chen Xiang had waited for her for a long time, and was only waiting for these words. He was extremely unhappy. "That may not be so," Chen Xiang said. "Just let me know a little bit, whether the owner of that tomb is a good person or not." "All right, that guy is a good person." Long Shui's answer was very direct, and caused Chen Xiang to not believe it somewhat. "Say more." Chen Xiang continued to closely pursue the matter. "Tell me, when I get back, I will definitely make you even more delicious food. There will definitely be earthly fruit and such. Don't tempt me with this method. I won't be able to hold it in." Long Shui's favorite thing was to eat earthly fruits. It was just that there were very few of them, and all of them had been eaten long ago, but Chen Xiang had the earthly fruit's core, so he could definitely produce one. Chen Xiang continued to speak. "You and I are already considered to be husband and wife, so don't be shy about it. Saying it out won't do any harm to me either. You heartless fellow, you only talk sweetly to me when you're trying to trick me." Long Shui scolded with a smile. Chen Xiang became anxious, because Long Shui knew some things about this grave. "What relations, Hi plus P, do I have with you?" Long Shui sighed. "I will tell you a bit, but I won't tell you too much. You have to ask me also. There are some things that I can't tell you, but I have my own difficulties. You don't need to know the reason. Also, you must fulfill your promise and get me a earthly fruit. I have almost forgotten the taste of these delicious fruit." Chen Xiang remembered the first time he ate a earthly fruit, when he was still a little girl who was carved from jade. He never thought that she would grow up to be this big in the blink of an eye, and that they had already grown up to be like this. "Don't worry, I'll definitely make it for you to eat," Chen Xiang said with an anxious voice. Long Shui chuckled, then said, "That guy in the tomb was training in a very strange technique, so he had to die once every so often. However, every time he revived, he would become extremely powerful, and the last time something happened in the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord, it just happened to be when he died, so that guy didn't partake. 1p8 in the Great Battle. Otherwise, D. Tian wouldn't have ended up like this." Chen Xiang was shocked. "So that means this guy is a good person?" Long Shui-in responded, "It's good, but he isn't human." "He's not a human, is he a beast?" In ancient times, the strong were mostly beasts, because beasts were born with excellent conditions. "Not really. That guy should be a G. Oh, D, a real G. Oh, D." Long Shui said, "All right, just know all this and don't ask where that guy came from." Chen Xiang never thought that a God would actually appear in D Tian, and right here in the Chen martial continent. Could he be from the Chaos World? Chen Xiang asked. In his eyes, the primal Chaos Realm was a world of a higher level than the Heaven Realm. No. Long Shui said. Where is that? Chen Xiang asked. Long Shui did not reply, but Chen Xiang still had to go to the mortal world. He would only be at ease if he saw with his own eyes that his father was alive. As he walked through the Earth's core, he carefully observed its surface. If he were to find some small holes, it would very likely be where the dragon veins were. The dragon veins in Evil Dragon Graveyard were exactly like this. When the news spread, many people rushed over, wanting to enter to take a look. However, no matter how many people attacked together, they were unable to break through the formation. What they did not know was that even an existence like the White Tiger was unable to break through the formation. Little naughty dragon, I'm going to the tomb of the thief G.O.D. right now. Are you not going to stop me? Chen Xiang chuckled. Men of my heavenly dragon supreme lord, it doesn't matter if we steal the tomb. Long Shui chuckled. Found it weird when listening to about a man from the heavenly dragon supreme lord, but when he heard how Long Shui laughed, he knew that the divine tomb shouldn't be too dangerous. Elder Duan, it's not that I don't want to bring you here, but this place is really dangerous. Only I can come here myself. I'm really sorry. Secretly said in his heart. Entering this kind of tomb was the thing he wanted to do the most, but this was indeed very dangerous. I found it. It seems that the formation of the dragon's vein is like this. Chen Xiang immediately turned into a strand of black silk, drilled into a small hole, and followed the flow of the air to the top of the mountain. These small holes were completely formed by lines and lines. Once the hot air rose from the Earth's core, it would go through these small, veined tunnels and turn into a very dense spiritual energy. Chen Xiang followed the rising airflow of the small hole and arrived at a very large Pa-S sage. The Pa-S sage was much larger than his own evil dragon graveyard, like a huge river, and the water here was spirit liquid formed from spirit qi. This is the true dragon vein. Compared to this dragon vein, mine is like an ant and an elephant. Chen Xiang was shocked and jealous. The spirit qi turned into spirit liquid, forming countless huge underground rivers flowing under the Devil Continent. Finally, they condensed into dragon veins. Chen Xiang followed the flow of the water and eventually arrived at a very large pit. It was 100 times bigger than the one in the evil dragon graveyard, and looked like a heavenly pit, but the bottom of the pit was filled with spirit liquid. In the middle of the pit was the body of a dragon with dragon veins. Chen Xiang was still at the bottom of the dragon vein. He ascended along the dragon's body that was at the top, and felt the waves of spirit energy emitted by the dragon vein, which gushed out of the dragon vein like a gale, shocking Chen Xiang. This dragon vein was far superior to the evil dragon graveyards. Chen Xiang was still at the bottom of the dragon vein. He ascended along the dragon's body that was at the top, and felt the waves of spirit energy emitted by the dragon vein, which gushed out of the dragon vein like a gale, shocking Chen Xiang. This dragon vein was far superior to the evil dragon graveyards. This dragon vein should have existed for a long time, but why is there no movement from before? Chen Xiang was very curious. If the Fire Divine Palace knew that the dragon vein was here since a long time ago, then he would have probably descended here, and occupy the Devil Continent first before anything else. I think it was sucked away. It should have been sucked away by this world that suddenly appeared. Maybe some of the formations above have the ability to absorb spiritual energy through the air. Long Shui said. The place Chen Xiang was at was the underground place of the Devil Continent, but now that he was pressed down by a mortal world, Chen Xiang flew up there and stood at the head of the dragon vein. But to get to the surface, he still had to pass through the mortal world that was pressing down on him, and that would take a period of time. We'll be at the top soon. I wonder how Dad and the others are doing. Chen Xiang was secretly excited. Using the power of the ancient code of SP AC and form displacement shadow, he ignored the obstructions of the rock and soil and moved forward quickly. More than 2 hours later, Chen Xiang, ignoring everything else, exhausted the innate qi in his body. In a short period of time, he finally arrived at the top. When he came out, he was in a lake. When he floated to the surface, he saw a large group of giant crocodiles on the Sore basking in the sunlight. This is an archaic giant alligator, an archaic species. Long Shui anxiously said, "Look at their scales." Chen Xiang took a closer look and saw that the scales on these giant alligators were dark and Hi plus New York. They looked like they had been polished black gems, different from normal giant alligators. The largest crocodile on the Sore was over 100 meters long, and its thick body was lying on the Sore. Beside it were other smaller crocodiles, which looked extremely shocking. Are these guys good? Chen Xiang transformed into a turfly and flew into the sky. Previously, he had used this method to safely enter the 10 heavenly sacred mountain. Very powerful, you shouldn't have provoked them. Go straight to your father and don't create unnecessary trouble. Many things must have happened here, otherwise, how else would there be so many archaic species appearing here in such a short amount of time? Long Shui's voice carried a rare heaviness. Back then, Chen Xiang did not stay in the mortal world for too long, so he was not very familiar with this place. The lake was beside a forest, and Chen Xiang did not fly into the forest filled with giant trees. In his opinion, there might be something more powerful than those giant crocodiles inside. The spiritual energy here has already evolved to become immortal qi. It's only just entering the immortal qi stage, but it'll definitely become stronger in the future. I really don't understand why those archaic descendants that should be extinct appear here. Seeing that Chen Xiang was far away from the giant alligators, Long Shui heaved a sigh of relief. Aren't there a lot of huge, archaic beasts outside the sacred mountain as well? Chen Xiang said, there shouldn't be anything strange about that. That's different, that place is the profound realm that has been sealed for many years, and this place was originally not the profound realm. Let alone this kind of huge giant alligator, even if it was normal giant alligators, it's still rare. Long Shui said. Chen Xiang nodded. He had only read a few records about giant alligators that were more than 10 meters long. There's a battle over there. Long Shui suddenly said, seems like it's a battle between humans and beasts. When Chen Xiang got closer, he could feel a wave of air coming from that place. The situation was extremely intense, and he did not know what kind of battle it was. He used his divination technique to take a look and saw, high up in the sky, more than 20 young men holding spears against a giant golden bear the size of a small house. This is a little gold bear. It's said that all of its fur is some very tough black gold iron. Ordinary weapons would find it very difficult to injure this kind of thing. Long Shui said in shock. It's good that I can see them, but why do these people look so much like primitive people? The people attacking the little golden bear were all young and strong men. There was a beast skin wrapped around their waist and their muscles were developed. It seemed that they had a lot of strength. They are not weak either. They are all Nirvana stage brats. Long Shui said. Roar. After the little golden bear was pierced by the spear, it let out a furious roar. That sound wave was extremely violent, causing those people to all retreat backwards. At this time, a young man with disheveled hair came out of nowhere and rushed towards the golden bear with his bare hands. His hands were like a giant axe and released a strong innate qi, ruthlessly SMAs. Hi plus ing towards the golden bear's head. It's very similar to the Sky Sun axe slash, but it's much more powerful than the Sky Sun axe slash. Don't tell me these people are from my Shin family? Chen Xiang said in shock. Can't you just go down and ask? These people are no match for you. Long Shui laughed. If it's someone from your Shin family, you will be able to see your father very soon. It had to be said that the group of people had a very good teamwork. After taking down the little gold bear, they quickly killed it, put it into the storage magic treasure, and quickly left. The roars of a bear that came from the distance meant that the parents of the little gold bear were currently daring to come, and that kind of big fellow was the strongest. Several mountain valleys were pushed flat by the berserk great golden bear. Seeing it from high up in the sky, Chen Xiang couldn't help but be surprised. Chen Xiang secretly followed the group of youths who were retreating quickly. He guessed that this group of youths was here to hunt, and looking at their attire, Chen Xiang guessed that the mortal world had become extremely unsafe. Everyone here had to be on guard against those ancient giant beasts at all times. These guys are so cautious. Chen Xiang followed them the entire way and discovered that these people had first entered a small river, dived into the bottom of the river, followed the river far away from the place where they killed the little golden bear, then climbed over the mountains. We're finally here. Chen Xiang saw a small village in front of him, but there were a lot of huge rocks surrounding the village, forming a thick wall. From high up in the sky, it looked like there were huge rocks surrounding the village, which meant that the walls were used to defend against the beasts. Those people entered the village from a flowing cave. There were already many people waiting for them inside. Chen Xiang searched for familiar faces among the crowd, and after he swept his eyes over thousands of people, he was immediately disappointed, because he did not find anyone he was familiar with. My great-uncle and my father aren't in the crowd. Chen Xiang sighed. His great-uncle Shin Luzong should be very strong in the Shin family, and he should be in here as well. Just when he was disappointed, a burly, bearded middle-aged man walked out from a small house. The moment this middle-aged man appeared, everyone immediately opened up a path. Moreover, everyone looked at him with reverence in their eyes. The previously noisy and joyous village also became extremely quiet. The moment this middle-aged man appeared, everyone immediately opened up a path. Moreover, everyone looked at him with reverence in their eyes. The previously noisy and joyous village also became extremely quiet. This burly middle-aged man who was filled with dignity was none other than Chen Xiang's father, Shen Tianhu. Is this your dad? He looks very similar to you. Long Shui said. That's right, that's him. Chen Xiang said excitedly. Father is still alive. He had wanted to meet with Shen Tianhu first, but then he saw a group of people walking out from the huge mountain rocks surrounding the village. There were some caves inside, and there were actually some people living inside as well. Old village chief, you've already sent your villagers to their deaths again. This time, they are truly fortunate to be able to return alive. I wonder what they have hunted down. The one who spoke was a tall and thin man. He looked very young, but the middle-aged and elderly people behind him all seemed to have to listen to him. What does this have to do with you guys? You guys only know how to hide in caves all day long. Don't even think about stealing our prey. A youth shouted to the group. Why are these not our business? You guys go hunt down those huge beasts, and if you anger the families of those huge beasts and chase after us, we will also be in trouble. We have to bear a huge risk, so you have to split half of it with us. The words of the lanky middle-aged man caused the villagers to be immediately angered. Chen Xiang understood, in this kind of environment, humans were definitely lacking in all kinds of resources. Even if there were people outside, they would not have the strength to extract them, because there were too many huge beasts and there were not many humans. Right now, even eating a lot of them was a problem, which was why they were sent out to hunt huge beasts. You all, hurry up and scram. Shen Luzong is still alive for one day, so I will definitely not let you ride on top of us. An angry voice suddenly echoed in the valley. Shen Tianhu's entire body was filled with killing intent. His eyes were completely red, as though he could kill the tall and skinny middle-aged man at any time. However, the tall and skinny man wasn't afraid at all. He only laughed, and the 200 men behind him also laughed. Come, do you dare to fight with us? You may be able to eliminate us, but I'm afraid more than half of you will die." The tall and skinny middle-aged man laughed sinisterly. Chen Xiang could already see that the tall and skinny middle-aged man was not very strong, but it would not be easy for Shen Tianhu to deal with him either. Although he could kill him, but it would take some time, and the people behind the tall and skinny middle-aged man were not weak. If there was a conflict, many people in the village who did not have any force would be killed. Granduncle is still alive, but his lifespan is almost up. Chen Xiang realized that the situation here wasn't as optimistic as what the others had told him, and it was very bad as well. Shen Luzong was supported by 2 young men and looked like he was about to run out of oil. However, there was a terrifying power within his body that frightened Chen Xiang. How could the strength of the immortal monarch be so fast? Long Shui had also told her about his father and grandfather. "Old village chief, you look pretty good." The tall and skinny middle-aged man laughed, because Shen Luzong's situation was getting worse. Chen Xiang, who had turned into a but turfly, had already flown back and changed into his original form. At this moment, everyone was looking at Shen Luzong, but they did not notice a stranger appearing here. "Why don't you compete with us again and concoct another batch of pills? As long as you win, we'll let you off this time." The tall and skinny man laughed. "Li Mu, you ungrateful fellow, who taught you how to refine pills, and who saved your life?" Shen Luzong said angrily. "Who told you not to pass down the position of the village chief to me? Look at the power behind me. You know that I am qualified to be the village chief." Li Mu took out a blade and played with it in his hand. Shen Tianhu walked forward with a pair of giant fists with popping veins. "The people behind you have all committed a huge mistake. BASTARDS imprisoned in cages. If you release them, you will sooner or later reap the consequences." Li Mu glared at him and laughed coldly. "I'll count to 3. Either we'll spar with you, or you will hand over half of the prey you've just killed. Otherwise, even if we have to risk our lives, we will fight you guys today." Who knew that Li Mu was so sinister in his heart that if he were to continue competing with Shen Luzong in alchemy, Li Mu might very well die right away. Shen Tianhu was angry, and the other youths in the village were angry as well. They had all prepared to fight, and just as Shen Tianhu raised his fist, Shen Luzong sighed. "Forget it, let's compete then." As long as they could buy some time for the youth in the village to become stronger, they would no longer need to be threatened by these people. "How about I compete with him?" Chen Xiang suddenly walked up. His unfamiliar voice surprised many people, but Shen Luzong and Shen Tianhu trembled and turned away in disbelief. Chen Xiang had a smile on his face. He was the same as before, only he had become much more mature. Although no one could feel the aura of the innate qi from his body, no one dared to underestimate him. "Oh, I didn't think that old fogey would be able to produce a disciple so quickly. But what are you going to use to compete with me? If old fogey fights with me, then his lifespan will be shortened by more than 10 years. Li Mu said with disdain, but he was curious to know if there was a face in the village that he had never seen before. Shen Tianhu and Shen Luzong were initially very excited, but they quickly calmed down. They knew what Chen Xiang wanted to do, so they couldn't expose his idol. Tai now had a lot of confidence in his son. Back then, the Shen family's pill business was started by Chen Xiang. As for why Chen Xiang was here, although they were curious, they should not ask about it now. "If I lose, I'll break my own arm." Chen Xiang walked over and said indifferently. Li Mu laughed. "Hey, newborn calf isn't afraid of tigers, I dare say. But since the old fellow didn't stop you, you should have some strength. That's fine too. If you lose, I can see how others chopped off their own arms." "How do we compete?" Chen Xiang asked. "Whoever refines the Zhenyuan Dan will win. This is for the speed of refining pills, the quality of the pills, and the quantity of pills that can be produced." Li Mu said this was also a very common method of comparison. One of the men in the village shouted, "Jinyu and Dan, where did we get this pill's medicinal ingredients? These medicinal ingredients were all stolen by you back then, you despicable fellow. If you don't, then just take it as your loss." There was laughter. Without a second word, Chen Xiang took out the mystical true GRAS myriad spirit fruit, big yuan fruit, and a bottle of spirit crystal milk. All of these things were of low quality in Long Xue's eyes, hence he did not suffer a calamity. Seeing Chen Xiang taking out the Jinyu and Dan's medicinal ingredients, Li Mu was very surprised, because he thought that the village did not have any more medicinal ingredients left. Seeing Chen Xiang taking out the Jinyu and Dan's medicinal ingredients, Li Mu was very surprised, because he thought that the village did not have any more medicinal ingredients left. "Okay, if you lose and you succeed, the Jinyu and Dan must be given to me," Li Mu said. Pills were extremely precious here, even for low-grade ones. "No problem. If you lose, you have to give it to me as well." As Chen Xiang said this, he sat on the ground and began to gather the ingredient. Li Mu snorted and immediately took out the pill furnace, and threw all the ingredients that he had prepared before into the furnace. Seeing that he had used the medicinal ingredients that he had prepared a long time ago to concoct pills, everyone immediately started cursing, but Li Mu did not care, as he was extremely thick-skinned. Chen Xiang already knew what kind of trash this Li Mu was, but he was secretly blaming Shen Luzong for his blindness. He took this fellow in as his disciple, and even swindled a large amount of medicinal ingredients away with him. "Brat, what are you so slow for? Do you think my alchemy skills are terrible? Back then, I was known to be a genius in alchemy in the mortal world. Prepare to break your own arms," Li Mu said with complete confidence. To Chen Xiang, refining Jinyu and Dan was not difficult at all. Although he had not refined one for a long time, he knew that the pill he refined the most was probably Jinyu and Dan. After handling the medicinal herbs, Chen Xiang released a magic method furnace and placed the medicinal herbs inside, igniting the flames. All of this happened very quickly and skillfully. Before anyone could react to what he was about to do, they already saw the medicinal ingredients floating in the air, being burned by the raging flames. At the same time, they emitted a dazzling multicolored light that dazzled everyone's eyes. Li Mu was stunned when he saw this scene. How could he not know that the Jinyu and Dan was being refined? The person in front of them didn't even use a pill furnace when he was concocting pills, and just used it to concoct pills. This shocked everyone here. What kind of pill refining technique was this? Shen Luzong's eyes were opened wide. He was an alchemist, and when he saw this scene, he knew that Chen Xiang had already walked on a unique path in the pill Dao, and had even reached a very high level. This made him very proud, because this was a disciple of his Shen family. "Just who are you?" Li Mu's voice trembled a little, because in just a short moment, Chen Xiang was about to condense a pill. Even a fool would know that the pill refiner in front of them was extremely powerful, especially regarding the flame. If one wasn't very strong, the flames wouldn't be that strong. "Chen Xiang." Chen Xiang replied indifferently. Following a powerful burst of multicolored light that flashed out, 5 Jinyu and Dan had already formed. They slowly revolved inside the transparent magic method furnace, and emitted a green-colored light. After knowing that the person in front of them was Chen Xiang, and that everyone was dumbstruck, and that 5 Jinyu and Dan had appeared at the same time, everyone was extremely shocked. Most of the people here had heard of Chen Xiang's name. He was a genius of the Shen family, and the Shen family's pill business was started by Chen Xiang. In the end, he went to mortal martial realm, and it was said that he was a famous person there. "You lost." Chen Xiang's eyes suddenly became gloomy and cold. Bang! Li Mu's pill furnace exploded, because he was already distracted by the killing intent that was being emitted from Chen Xiang's body. In that moment, he thought that he was going to be killed by Chen Xiang. I've lost. I'll leave now." Li Mu felt Chen Xiang's terror, and naturally did not dare to cause any more trouble. Chen Xiang said coldly, "You can't go, I still want to compete with you." When Li Mu saw that so many people had such proud expressions and their faces all filled with ridicule, he was immediately enraged in his heart. "Why would I want to compete with you? If you don't compete with me, I'll kill all of you." Chen Xiang suddenly stood up, took out his green dragon demon-slaying broadsword, and threw it towards the group of people in front of him. In the blink of an eye, his countless blade shadows had all appeared beside Li Mu and the other 200 people. Then, some of their legs suddenly went soft because Chen Xiang's blade just now had cut off most of their hair, which also meant that Chen Xiang's blade just now could have cut off their heads. "Let's not compete," Chen Xiang shouted angrily. "If you don't compete with me, all of you will die." Just a moment ago, Li Mu had also used this method to threaten Shen Luzong, but not long after, he was used by others on their body. 2. What pill should I refine? Li Mu gulped down his saliva. He was not weak himself, but Chen Xiang was stronger than him. In the face of absolute strength, Li Mu could only yield. "If you lose, break one of your arms and one of your legs. You have no other choice." Chen Xiang's words immediately made Li Mu's face turn ashen. He was very angry and wanted to rush over and fight with Chen Xiang, but he knew that Chen Xiang's one slash was enough to kill him. "Let's compete in the refinement of Relive Dan," Chen Xiang said. "Also, life back." Li Mu immediately broke out in a cold sweat. When the crowd heard about the high-grade ground-level pill, they were extremely shocked. How could there be such a pill here? Even if they went to the mortal martial realm to look for it, they would not be able to find it. Chen Xiang took out the medicine used to refine Relive Dan. When they felt the spirit energy from the medicine, they knew that it wasn't fake. Those medicinal ingredients that you have not refined, they represent that you have lost. Hurry up and break one of your arms and one of your legs. Chen Xiang snorted and kept the ingredient. Li Mu was enraged, her face suddenly turned sinister. "Fight them to the death, even if we have to drag them down, we have to drag a few behind us, watch out for those kids and the elderly." Just as Li Mu finished speaking, his head had already disappeared, and so had Chen Xiang. The headless Li Mu, who had not even fallen down, had already let out a series of wails behind him. Those people were all burnt to ashes by Chen Xiang's flames. 5 colored flames were extremely intense, burning the bodies of these people, causing them to struggle and jump about on the ground. Very soon, they were burnt to ashes, and the valley was enveloped in heat. In just a moment, Chen Xiang had completely exterminated the group of people, causing the villagers to cheer. Many of the youths looked at Chen Xiang with reverence. "Father, granduncle." Chen Xiang walked in front of them and held their hands. When Shen Luzong saw how powerful Chen Xiang was, he immediately cried. Seeing that his lifespan was almost up, Chen Xiang anxiously took out 2 longevity fruits and handed them over. "Don't say any more, eat it first. It can help increase your lifespan, uncle," Chen Xiang anxiously said. Shen Luzong had the strength of the immortal monarch, but because he was too old, he was unable to use it. If he ate the longevity fruit after extending his lifespan, he would become younger, and at that time, he would have enough strength to protect the village. Of course, Chen Xiang would think of a way to bring them away. Although Shen Luzong did not recognize longevity fruit, Chen Xiang had said that he could live longer, so he did not eat it politely. Although Shen Luzong did not recognize longevity fruit, Chen Xiang had said that he could live longer, so he did not eat it politely. Back when Chen Xiang left the mortal world, Shen Luzong knew that he would definitely have a great future. Now that he had appeared here, he had displayed great strength. Chen Xiang and Shen Tianhu supported Shen Luzong into the house. At this time, Shen Luzong's complexion was much better. He was no longer that old, the wrinkles on his face had lessened, and although his hair was still white, he looked to be full of tenacious vitality. The longevity fruit was an immortal fruit, and the effect was very obvious. Shen Luzong was a mortal monarch, so Chen Xiang gave him two, which would have a greater effect. Dad, what happened here? Where are the cities? Chen Xiang asked. He knew that all these years, the people here had not been doing well. The cities here have been destroyed by those huge beasts. Back then, all of a sudden, the earth started to shake violently, and many houses collapsed, and many people died at that time. Then the world turned pitch black, and after a month of darkness, we finally saw the sun, but many huge beasts appeared. After all these years, many people have died tragically in the mouths of these huge beasts, and I'm afraid that we are the only ones left here. Shen Tianhu sighed. If your great-uncle hadn't had a fortuitous encounter and fell into a pool of blood and absorbed the powerful blood inside, his bones would have greatly changed. If your great-uncle hadn't had a fortuitous encounter and fell into a pool of blood and absorbed the powerful blood inside. Shen Luzong sat at the side, refining the two longevity fruit. Seeing that he was getting younger, Shen Tianhu was secretly surprised that his own son had such a good thing. If Shen Luzong could regain his youthful vitality, they wouldn't need to be afraid of the huge beasts here. Have you ever tried to leave here? After Chen Xiang finished speaking, he told her about the disappearance of the mortal world, and then he also told her about the mysterious tomb. Shen Luzong opened his eyes. His current appearance was extremely spirited. Just two longevity fruits had such an effect. He was sure that Chen Xiang had given him immortal fruit. There really is a tomb here. A while ago, something seemed to have happened to the tomb, causing some of my lifespan to be sucked away. At that time, I was worried and did not say anything, because I was not sure if the tomb could absorb the lifespan of others. Shen Luzong's face was solemn as he said, "We cannot leave this place. If we leave, we will definitely die." Shen Tianhu's face was filled with surprise, because he did not know about these things. If his lifespan had unknowingly been absorbed, it would truly be terrifying, and even the thought of it was terrifying. But now you don't need to worry, this guy just said, there is a powerful dragon vein below us, the tomb can completely absorb the dragon vein's power to revive. As for the tomb watcher, I feel that we are indeed. It's just that some accidents have happened, causing a large number of huge beasts to appear here. I believe that other places still have those kinds of pools of blood. As long as we can find those kinds of pools of blood, then we can let the people here change their bodies and advance by leaps and bounds just like me, so we won't have to be afraid of those huge beasts. Uncle, didn't you say that it was because of the blood pool that your lifespan ran out so quickly? Of course, Shen Tianhu wanted to become a strong ranker. Although he was already in the Nirvana realm, it could also be said that because of the environment here, even with the help of the pills, his cultivation had increased a lot faster. Shen Luzong shook his head. No, when I'm completely recovered, I will go and search for a blood pool. At that time, depending on the situation, I will let you guys enter the blood pool to change your bodies. Shen Luzong understood things much better than Shen Tianhu. Furthermore, Chen Xiang and Shen Tianhu could both tell that there were some things that he had not mentioned. After staying in this place for so long, there were only a few people. Both Shen Tianhu and Shen Luzong wanted to know what was going on outside. Chen Xiang was extremely willing to tell them about Di Tian's matter that happened over the past few years, causing them to be shocked. In order to not let them worry, Chen Xiang left out many of the heaven-opposing things that he had done, because Shen Tianhu and Shen Luzong still could not leave this place for the time being. Chen Xiang was worried that they would be very worried for him in the future. Time flies so fast, in the blink of an eye it's about time for this kid to ascend. I wonder if I'll still be staying here after I pass through the tribulation of ascension. Shen Tianhu was also at the Nirvana stage. I'll know when the time comes. Oh right, Dad, is Xianxian's father here? Xue Xianxian was the same as him. She had never had a mother since young, and Xue Xianxian was also very worried about her father. Her father had ascended a long time ago. At that time, this place hadn't returned yet, but was on the other side instead. At that time, there were a few other fellows who had ascended as well. Shen Luzong said. Shen Tianhu nodded his head. In that period of time, Uncle's strength was relatively strong, and was able to ensure a safe environment for us to cultivate in. Everyone was also very bold to hunt and kill huge beasts, and eat huge beasts to nourish them, making their growth speed to be very fast. It's just that your father was unlucky, and accidentally received heavy injuries, which was why he was slower than others. Chen Xiang looked at Shen Luzong and said, Uncle, if father overcomes his tribulation here, can he also ascend to heaven realm? Shen Luzong thought for a moment, then shook his head. It's hard, even though this place is currently with D Tian S. P. A. C is cut off, and it's hard to enter or exit. I think that even if you pass through the 9 nirvana tribulations, you wouldn't be able to fly up. I'll find a way to take you out. Shen Luzong walked over to Chen Xiang's side, patted his head and smiled. No need, we are probably the chosen person to guard the tomb. If we leave, there will definitely not be a good ending. I am a little worried that we cannot go against it, although we temporarily do not know what our roles are here. Chen Xiang was a little depressed in his heart, but he still nodded his head. I will stay here for a while. Grandfather, at that time, I will go with you to look for a blood pool. Shen Luzong nodded his head and laughed. Of course you can, it's not early anymore, go back and rest. You must be very tired to be able to come here. Shen Tianhu led the way, and made a very comfortable room for Chen Xiang. He was indeed a little tired after coming here from the Earth Core realm, and fell asleep very quickly. Early in the morning, Shen Luzong came to wake him up in high spirit. Seeing the old elder become so lively, the people of the village knew that Chen Xiang had brought a good pill with him. Let's go find a blood pool and get something for everyone to eat. Shen Luzong laughed. After Shen Luzong ate the longevity fruit, he was not half dead like before. After Shen Luzong ate the longevity fruit, he was not half dead like before. Chen Xiang followed him out of the valley. Initially, he had wanted to call Shen Tianhu to go with him, but the village needed an expert to guard against some of the giant birds and beasts that could fly. Searching for the blood pool was a very important thing to Shen Luzong, because it would allow him to quickly cultivate a large number of strong warriors. Grandfather, do you think those pools of blood were taken by the giant beasts? Chen Xiang asked. Of course it's possible, but don't worry, those giant beasts will enter our stomachs sooner or later. After Shen Luzong finished speaking, he thought of something and continued. When we ate those huge beasts before, our strength increased very quickly. It could be because those huge beasts ate the blood in the blood pool. Chen Xiang and Shen Luzong were flying in the air, and were very close to the ground. Most of the trees on the ground were formed from forest that were incomparably tall, and whenever Shen Luzong saw any huge beasts, he would strike out with his palm to kill the huge beasts on the ground. Although those huge beasts were strong, they were nothing in front of an immortal monarch like him. It was rare for Shen Luzong to regain the vigor of his youth, so Chen Xiang did not even need to take action. On the way, Chen Xiang found that Shen Luzong also had some pretty good martial arts, but after asking, they actually obtained them from somewhere else. It's carved on those giant mountains. There are some circulation diagrams and some chants, but they're not suitable for you to cultivate. As long as you learn those techniques, you will have to stay here and guard the tomb. Only I know of this, you better not tell Tianhu, otherwise, they will not learn it in order to leave, but right now there is no turning back. Just by learning those martial arts, he was already restricted. He originally wanted to go and take a look, but he had already given up on the idea. After Long Shui helped him calculate for a bit, it had been 5 years here and only 1 year outside. He finally understood why Shen Luzong could possess the strength of the immortal monarch so quickly. However, he had also heard from Shen Luzong that after the secular world disappeared, the SPAC that they were in was even more terrifying compared to the outside world. Back then, I was chased by a huge beast for a few days, and in the end, I had no choice but to jump into the blood pool. After I slept for a while in the blood pool, I discovered that my body was in pain, and when I woke up, my nirvana doom had already been knocked down, and the blood in the pool had already dried up. Shen Luzong said. After finding the blood pool, Chen Xiang wanted to try and see if his body still had room to reform. If he could raise his strength through the blood pool, then he wouldn't need to take a long time to refine a large number of pills. He could ascend very quickly. After more than 10 days, Chen Xiang and Shen Luzong were still unable to find a pool of blood outside. On the way, Chen Xiang also had a hearty feast in his mouth, as he ate a lot of tasty flesh of ancient giant beasts, and gave it to Long Shui as well. With Shen Luzong by his side, Chen Xiang basically did not need to make a move, so he could secretly create a few creation divine liquid S as well. He needed to get a few more longevity fruit S for Shen Luzong and other spirit medicines. Shen Luzong and Chen Xiang did not fly in the sky, but were instead walking in the forest. Although it was slow, they were able to search even more comprehensively. He could not find the blood pool, but he managed to find some spirit medicines. Most of them were from the spiritual level, but they were not bad either, indicating that there were still quite a few spirit medicines here. "Uncle, if I use that blood pool on me, will I improve?" Chen Xiang asked. "Of course there is. Although I'm called the pool of blood, what's inside isn't blood. It's a red-colored liquid. As for what it is, I'm not too sure. In short, it allows people to suddenly gain very strong power." Shen Luzong kept a giant tiger back into the storage magic treasure, and continued running forward with quick step. Originally, the storage magic treasure in this place were extremely scarce, but when Chen Xiang came, he brought a large pile of them with him, so whenever Shen Luzong saw them, he would immediately kill them. However, right at this moment, the roar of a huge beast sounded, and Long Shui shouted, "I sense something. There's a blood pool nearby." Shen Luzong said excitedly. "He must have been taken over by a huge beast. I'll go over and kill that guy right now." Shen Luzong turned into a gust of wind and disappeared. Following that, a direction started to tremble, and some of the trees started to fall apart, accompanied by a gust of wind. "Kid, come over here quickly," Shen Luzong shouted. Chen Xiang immediately rushed over, and saw a huge red pool, although it was full of holes, but the pool of blood was still in good condition, because the pool of blood was protected by a powerful array. "This blood pool has not been destroyed. It's about the same size as the one I used before," Shen Luzong said. The round blood pool was 10 meters wide, and had water that looked like fresh blood. It emitted a berserk energy aura and looked very dangerous, and if he did not know that this pool of blood could help raise one's strength, Chen Xiang would not even think of jumping into it. "Do you want to go down and try it out? I'll wait for you at the side, and it's just as I guessed, there should be a lot of blood pools like this, and many giant beasts rely on these blood pools to become strong. That guy just now was very powerful, allowing me to use a little more time." Shen Luzong chuckled. Chen Xiang nodded his head. "I will be going down now." After he finished speaking, he jumped into the blood pool. He originally wanted to experience the process of upgrading and the strangeness of the blood pool, but after he jumped in, his eyes went black and he fainted. When he opened his eyes, he saw the blinding sunlight and felt an excruciating pain all over his body. "What happened? Where's my great-uncle?" Chen Xiang shouted as he jumped out of the dried-up blood pool. "You have Pa-S said through the 8 nirvana tribulations," Long Shui said in an unexpected manner, "but no nirvana doom has descended." It was a clear characteristic of someone who had Pa-S said the 8th nirvana tribulation. Looking at his dantian, through the grayish-black mist that enveloped his dantian, Chen Xiang could see that there were 8 heaven pellets inside each of the 5 beast statue. Furthermore, the 9th heaven pellet was already in its half-finished state. "This is going to be a terrifying upgrade," Chen Xiang cried out in alarm. How long have I been sleeping for? 3 months. Long Shui said, It is indeed ridiculously fast. This should be a gift from the Tomb Master. I have observed this blood pool, and it is connected to a certain power, although it is now dried up, but there will definitely be that red liquid again in the future. As long as I soak in it, I can still quickly improve. Granduncle! Chen Xiang roared as he immediately flew over from afar. Granduncle! Chen Xiang roared as he immediately flew over from afar. Chen Xiang looked around. All of the trees within a radius of several hundred meters had disappeared, and there were even traces of burn wounds on the ground. Your Nirvana doom is here, so I can only hide in the distance. I didn't expect it to be so powerful. Are you all right? Shen Luzong looked at Chen Xiang's confused face and asked. I'm fine. My Nirvana doom have already passed, said. Chen Xiang was stunned, but she said that she did not land. Your Nirvana doom is very strange, and most of the robbery power have mysteriously disappeared. However, you have still caused a lot of trouble. Shen Luzong replied. It's good that you're fine. Chen Xiang looked at the dried-up pool of blood and said, It's possible that even the robbery power has been absorbed by this pool. Grandfather, you must remember the location of these pools of blood. Really, I know where the pond I used the last time is. I'll take you there right now. Shen Luzong anxiously pulled Chen Xiang and ran in one direction. After using 2 days of time, Shen Luzong and Chen Xiang finally arrived at the blood pool, and there was also a rather strong gigantic beast there. Sure enough, Shen Luzong saw that although there was only half a pool of blood, it verified Chen Xiang's words. Looks like that giant beast ate a lot of this place. When Shen Luzong took care of the gigantic beast earlier, he knew that the gigantic beast was much stronger than ordinary beasts. Do you still want more? You should be able to cross the 9 Nirvana tribulations very soon. If you can't ascend here, even if you leave here, you can't ascend. If that's really the case, you can't go to the heaven realm. Shen Luzong said. Chen Xiang nodded and said, I will cultivate outside. After that, Shen Luzong brought Chen Xiang back to the village. Chen Xiang said that he wanted to stay here for a while, but in reality, he wanted to gather more creation divine liquid so that he could duplicate the longevity fruit that he gave to Shen Luzong. With Chen Xiang thinking about it here, Shen Tianhu also felt at ease to follow Shen Luzong to use the blood pool. When he returned, 2 months had already passed, said, and Shen Tianhu had already passed, said, through the 9 levels of Nirvana tribulations, so he indeed had not ascended. However, there was also immortal energy here, and there were also many blood pools. At this time, Chen Xiang had already created 10 longevity fruits, which were enough for Shen Luzong to use. At this time, the amount of people going out was also increasing more and more as they searched for spirit medicines. In the future, Shen Luzong would also become a high-ranking alchemist. You've already grown up and you're also a strong person. I won't say much. Take care. Although Shen Tianhu had a smile on his face, his mood was extremely heavy. Chen Xiang also did the same. He paused, said the things to them, bid them farewell with a smile, and then quickly left. As long as everyone continuously increased their own strength, they would definitely meet again in the future. When Chen Xiang left this time, it wouldn't be long before he ascended. It would probably take a very long time for them to meet again in the future. He only came outside after tossing and turning in the Earth's core for a while. Moreover, Dtion's spirit energy was far inferior to the place with a large amount of beasts. He stayed inside for a period of time, but did not stay long outside, and now that he confirmed that nothing was wrong with his father, Chen Xiang did not have anything to worry about. I am not far from the heaven realm. I wonder if I can find my former friends if I can go up there. Don't worry, Sister Meiyao and Yu Yi are very familiar with the place. Long Shui laughed. When the time comes, I will definitely get more immortal grade fruits. I will definitely be able to get a lot of them from the heaven realm. Chen Xiang said, Are they still sleeping? We still don't know when they'll wake up. Long Shui said, Don't worry, it should be soon. They are asleep because their divine soul needs to grow quickly. Chun Xiang made a trip back to Evil Dragon Graveyard, and Li Baojun gave him a good fortune pill. Elder Li, when I go out this time and return, there will be a lot of things that will happen in the future. Chun Xiang said. Li Baojun immediately understood and nodded. We will definitely lay our foundation for Dragon Subduing School, and when the Celestial Emperor and the Heaven Realm are on good terms, the Dragon Subduing School will definitely become a powerful sect that can contend with the great powers of the Heaven Realm. Then tell Elder Duan for me. Chun Xiang patted Li Baojun's shoulder, then left the Evil Dragon Graveyard. He found a very quiet little valley. The reason he did not go inside the Evil Dragon Graveyard was because his 9th calamity was coming. After eating the good fortune pill, they held the philosophic stone in their hands and had it guide the energy in his dantian before pouring it into the beast statue to form the core embryo. I missed the 8th calamity. I don't know how powerful it is, but the 9th should be quite powerful. Chun Xiang thought. He used a month to refine the good fortune pill. Although there was only one good fortune pill, the effect was very good. He could feel that the innate qi and his spiritual sense had both improved after consuming the good fortune pill. Of course it's powerful, you better hurry up and cultivate your divine soul up. If your nirvana doom sense anything, there will be robbery power aimed at your divine soul. If you can't block it, your divine soul will be injured, and it might even be wiped out. Long Shui said. Chun Xiang's current divine soul was considered stronger, so there were no good pills that could help him quickly improve it. However, the speed of upgrading his cultivation technique was very slow, so he could only cultivate God's join method with Long Shui. What are you shy about? I don't mind. What do you care about? Long Shui chuckled. She never thought that Chun Xiang would actually be a little unwilling to practice the God's join method with her. I just don't mind. I was worried that it would affect you. Although it was the divine soul, I could feel that they had absorbed a lot of energy from your divine soul every single time. Chun Xiang said. These were his heartfelt words. My divine soul is stronger than yours, and I cultivate the God's join method with you. My divine soul is rising very slowly, but the part that I raised is enough for you to absorb. Long Shui laughed. At this time she had already entered Chun Xiang's divine sense C. Woman, why are you in such a hurry? When Long Shui's divine soul saw Chun Xiang, it immediately flew over. What, you don't want anything that I've delivered to your doorstep? Long Shui laughed. Chun Xiang smiled, kissed her once, and then, he got back to business. At this time, the new Imperial Heaven world had already stabilized and the demons in the human realm had been chased away. However, the demons would not let this matter rest. In the future they would definitely invade the human realm again. So many of the great powers in the human realm were working hard to raise their strength, and the Devil Subduing College was also becoming more and more lively. The Dragon Subduing School had also gradually faded out of the new Imperial Heaven world, developing at a low profile. Even the Dragon Subduing City was gradually losing the shadow of the Dragon Subduing School. After the new Imperial Heaven world stabilized, many powerhouses started flying towards the Heaven Realm. Although most of them hoped that their powers would become stronger in the new Imperial Heaven world, so that when the Heaven Realm and Dtion were on good terms, they would have a certain amount of strength. After the new Imperial Heaven world stabilized, many powerhouses started flying towards the Heaven Realm. Although most of them hoped that their powers would become stronger in the new Imperial Heaven world, so that when the Heaven Realm and Dtion were on good terms, they would have a certain amount of strength. Chun Xiang was also doing his best to raise his strength. He was about to cultivate the 9th embryo very quickly, and it had taken him over 30 years to reach this stage, and the further he got, the harder it was to cultivate. He thought that he would be able to achieve it in at most 10 years, but as he cultivated, every little bit of improvement was extremely difficult. This was when he had a large amount of pills. If he did not have the pills, philosophic stone, or the powerful martial arts he mentioned, he could not imagine how long it would take. My divine power is still unable to condense into G-O-D wind. Chen Xiang was a little disappointed because the breakthrough was just around the corner, but the improvement of the divine way was not very fast. Just think about it, it took me a lot of effort to cultivate it, Long Shui said. In this period of time, she had frequently trained in God's join method with Chen Xiang, causing their relations, Hi plus P, to become extremely close, and their relations, Hi plus P, to deepen. Chen Xiang ate 4 Hunyuan Dan, which he had just refined. Just a little bit more. The 9th core is about to appear, and the 9 nirvana tribulations are about to arrive. I wonder how powerful it will be. Chen Xiang was very much looking forward to the 9th nirvana tribulation. Most of his nirvana doom were abnormal and very powerful, but to him, it was a cruel test that had great benefits. Don't fall into a trap. Even though you won't lose your soul after failing your tribulation, you still have to start over from the beginning. Just think about how painful it will be. Long Shui said in a stern voice. Got it. They haven't reacted yet. Chen Xiang had waited for many years, but Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu had never woken up. Every time he thought about this, he was extremely worried. No, I'm still the same. Long Shui had also answered many times. She had thought that Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu would wake up soon, but dozens of years had passed, and even she was starting to worry. She didn't know what to do. The final tribulation is here. Don't lose your mind, you have to get through it. Long Shui said in a stern voice. Refining 4 Hunyuan Dan took Chen Xiang 10 days, and he was extremely careful in doing so while the core embryo of the 9th day pellet had already formed. Did you come? When Chen Xiang opened his eyes, he felt that the innate qi inside the 9th heaven pill had undergone a tremendous change and had become extremely strong. Although the 9th heaven pill had only produced an embryo, it seemed to have fused with the rest of the heaven pills. Chen Xiang was currently in an underground stone room, but his surroundings had gradually become a vast expanse of whiteness. He did not know if this was an illusion or if he had entered a bizarre SPAC. You shouldn't have stepped into this realm. This means that you must die in my hand. Chen Xiang turned around to take a look, and was shocked. The one who spoke was the White Tiger. Senior White Tiger, why are you here? Chen Xiang called out to Long Shui a few times in his heart, but Long Shui did not reply. It must be an illusion. Chen Xiang thought. It should be some sort of mental attack method, it won't be difficult for me. The ordinary-looking face of the White Tiger suddenly turned dark and cold. An incomparably powerful killing intent surged out from its body. At the same time, a black mist appeared around its body. One could tell with a glance that this was the power of the law of darkness. Chen Xiang's face turned solemn. He was not sure if this was an illusion or not, and he had never heard of such a thing happening during a transition tribulation. This is not an illusion. I am the person in charge of this land. If a person like you continues to grow stronger, it will only destroy this land. Hearing the White Tiger's words, Chen Xiang laughed coldly. Stop fooling around. Although you don't know what the situation is, you're definitely not a White Tiger. Don't think you can trick me. Chen Xiang's mind was firm. He was not easily bewitched by his opponent. He took out his green dragon demon-slain broadsword and used his strongest strength to greet it, and with one slash, he chopped the White Tiger in front of him into a cloud of black qi. You can't kill me, I control the law of darkness. The White Tiger laughed coldly and struck its palm forward, releasing a ball of black energy that enveloped Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang's body trembled. He released the devil-suppressing holy power, the holy light instantly purifying the darkness. With your little strength, you still want to pretend to be the white tiger? Come on, if it really was the white tiger, I would have died long ago. Without that strength, what are you pretending to be a powerful expert for? Chen Xiang laughed. He had already confirmed that the person in front of him was not the real white tiger. He guessed that he had read from his memories that the white tiger was the strongest existence that he had come into contact with before, and now, he was going to get the white tiger out. However, the white tiger's strength was way beyond Chen Xiang's, so even if it was an illusion, it was unable to simulate its true strength, because Chen Xiang had never seen the white tiger's true strength. Is the ninth tribulation just a mental tribulation? Chen Xiang released all of his G-O-D power and punched the beautiful white tiger's body, dispersing it. After exterminating the white tiger, the white SPAC disappeared, followed by a series of explosions. Chen Xiang felt that he was struck by a powerful force, causing the qi in his body to be destroyed. Even if his internal organs were injured, as long as he was still alive, it would not affect him much. If it was anyone else, without body of heavenly sage, their previous attack would have been completely destroyed. The stone room that Chen Xiang was in was completely destroyed by that power, and a large part of the ground had collapsed as well. When he rushed out from the ground, all he saw was a pitch-black sky, shrouded by a thick layer of black clouds. First, mind attacks to confuse me, stall for time, then the robbery power will brew and attack me while I'm unprepared. The 9 Nirvana tribulation is indeed powerful, you actually know how to play trick. Chen Xiang thought. Even though the robbery power that had attacked Chen Xiang just now was powerful, even though it had caused some damage to Chen Xiang, he had already recovered from it. He had previously fused a large amount of the things in his dantian, causing his abilities in all aspects to increase greatly. Come. Chen Xiang stood at the summit of a mountain and watched as a gigantic red palm emerged from the dense dark clouds and smashed down ruthlessly. That wave of destructive energy was enough to destroy a mountain range. However, when it came down, it was disintegrated by Chen Xiang's punch. After Chen Xiang punched out, an invisible shock wave was sent towards the sky, instantly shaking the dark clouds that covered the sky. The shock wave was so strong that it seemed like it was about to dissipate, but it was absorbed by a force. After Chen Xiang punched out, an invisible shock wave was sent towards the sky, instantly shaking the dark clouds that covered the sky. The shock wave was so strong that it seemed like it was about to dissipate, but it was absorbed by a force. As long as they were destroyed, they could pass through the 9th Nirvana tribulation. However, it was extremely difficult to destroy, and before the robbery power even landed, Chen Xiang had already sent 2 punches towards the sky, both of them containing the power of the ground killing. Although it looked like the black clouds would be scattered soon, but they would be retracted soon enough. Chen Xiang knew that this method was not feasible, it would be very difficult to destroy the foundations of the robbery power. The robbery power of the 9th tribulation was many times stronger than what Chen Xiang had encountered before. However, it was not too strong for the current Chen Xiang. This is all the 9th level tribulation can do. Chen Xiang then smashed apart a gigantic red sword with his fist. It was slashed out from the black clouds, and all gathered extremely terrifying robbery power. Chen Xiang's current physical body was at the body of heavenly sage level. It could allow him to possess the same kind of power as worldly immortals, and this robbery power was set for the 9 Nirvana tribulation. It was at most half of the strength of the 9 Nirvana tribulation. Amongst the many robbery powers under the 9 Nirvana tribulations, Chen Xiang's were considered very terrifying because he was an alchemist himself. However, what he drew Nirvana doom from was only the power of the innate qi, not his physical body or the power of the divine way. Chen Xiang suddenly took out the philosophic stone, and at the same time, a golden eye appeared on his forehead. He opened up Chaos Divine Eye and took out the Philosophic Stone, wanting to see how the ninth Nirvana Tribulation was formed. The Chaos Divine Eye released a burst of extremely bright golden light. Chen Xiang immediately saw many dense, hair-like, tiny runes within the black clouds. Although it looked extremely messy, the spirit power it contained shocked Chen Xiang. This was the most primitive and most powerful natural spirit grain. If he used the grain force to release it, it might be able to brew a nirvana doom to attack others. Chen Xiang could do two things at once, while blocking the attacks of the robbery power, and at the same time, memorize the array patterns that were releasing these powerful robbery powers. The robbery power had a long duration, even people that were thousands of miles away were alarmed, no one dared to come over. Seeing this terrifying robbery power last for such a long time, everyone guessed who was crossing the nirvana doom, and how could it hold on for so long. If it was an ordinary person undergoing 8 nirvana tribulations, they would have already been smashed to dust by this level of robbery power. But Chen Xiang acted like he was playing, and he was even peeping into the principles behind the robbery power, memorizing those complicated spirit grain 7 days and 7 nights. The piece of land Chen Xiang resided in was as if it had been peeled of several layers of skin, and was even covered with the icy cold power of fire, and various types of strength. It's finally over. I've already completely memorized those runes. I never thought I would consume so much energy. Chen Xiang was very tired, he was especially mental. In the clear sky, a golden rift suddenly appeared, and Chen Xiang was just about to be sucked in by the golden light released by the rift. Remember what formation pattern? Long Shui asked. She did not dare to appear casually during Chen Xiang's tribulation. There are many array patterns during the formation of the 9 Nirvana tribulation. However, with the help of the Philosophic Stone, I was able to record them down in a short period of time. The Philosophic Stone is truly a good item, Chen Xiang said. He has flown up to the heaven realm, and upon reaching there, you must be careful. It has been a place where many geniuses have gathered for countless years, with many talented people and strong people gathering. In that vast world, there might be people with the same strength as the 9 emperors and 5 venerables back then. The person who spoke was Bai Yuyu, and when Bai Yuyu woke up, he calmed down immediately. At the same time, he also entered the golden spatial rift. Chen Xiang was currently floating in a tunnel. His body was being pulled by a gentle force and was being led into the heaven realm, and at this time, he was also refining the power of giving, completing the 9th heaven pellet. Sister Yu, you're finally awake. I was really worried for you guys, but where's Sister Mei Yao? Has she woken up yet? Chen Xiang asked. Little scoundrel, I only slept for a bit and you flew up. You didn't disappoint me, did you? Hearing Su Meiyao's coquettish voice, Chen Xiang heaved a sigh of relief. You've all slept for a long time, 4 decades. Long Shui said, her voice was weak, because she had almost finished eating all the food in the ring. She was worried that she would be blamed. However, Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu had always doted on her, and after knowing about this, they did not say much. As long as they broke through, they would have power of giving, which was a very mysterious power. The existence of Nirvana Doom was in order to prevent life forms from becoming stronger, and kill them off in a timely manner. After refining the power of giving, Chen Xiang's 9th heaven pellet was completed. At the moment there were 45 heaven pellets in the 5 beasts statue in his dantian. We're at the heaven realm. Sunlight appeared in front of Chen Xiang's eyes, and at the same time, he could feel the dense immortal energy. When he fell out of the Pa's sage, the interior of his dantian changed. The 9 heavenly pellets in each beast elephant suddenly fused into one, and that was in an instant, and the fused heavenly pellet was actually not circular in shape, but rather had some shape. Upon closer inspection, it was actually a shape very similar to the beast statue, only with a vague outline. Chen Xiang landed on a big plain that was filled with dense immortal energy. For people like him, who came from the heaven realm, any place would have dense immortal energy. Could it be that my heavenly core needs to grow into a beast statue? Chen Xiang realized that the beast-shaped heaven pellet was very small, 100 times smaller than the one inside his dantian. The heaven realm is different from before. The immortal qi is denser and the S.P.A.C. is very stable. It seems that after so many years, the quality of the entire world is increasing. I wonder if it will be able to evolve to a higher realm in the future. Bai Yuyu's slightly cold voice held a trace of nostalgia. She had lived in this place for a very long time. Chen Xiang gave it a try and sure enough, using the power of the spatial laws, it was not possible to travel too far. It was only 6 meters. He could only use the shrinking step to travel. How are your divine soul? Only now did Chen Xiang have the time to ask Su Meiyao about the two of them. The reason why Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu were sleeping was because of the divine soul. After they were submerged in the God demon pool, they gave birth to their divine way soul. It was just that they did not know what had happened, which caused them to sleep for a long time. The reason why Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu were sleeping was because of the divine soul. After they were submerged in the God demon pool, they gave birth to their divine way soul. It was just that they did not know what had happened, which caused them to sleep for a long time. The appearance of a 15 or 16-year-old girl is very green. I have already entered their sea of consciousness and have seen them, but they are still naked. Long Xue laughed. The appearances of Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu at the age of 15 or 16, and even naked, immediately caused an incomparably evil and bloody scene to appear in Chen Xiang's mind. I want to see it. Can you let me see it? Chen Xiang could not help but blurt out the words in his heart. Don't even think about it. Bai Yuyu immediately snorted coldly. She knew what this little scoundrel Chen Xiang was thinking. Bad boy, are you that interested in me when I was 15 or 16 years old? Su Meiyao chuckled. That charming voice ignited a ball of fire in Chen Xiang's lower abdomen. Of course not, I'm just curious. When I was young, all of you could have looked at me. Didn't you already see us? We're even now. Bai Yuyu didn't want to let Chen Xiang pester him any further, so he gave him a death order. You are not allowed to bring up this kind of thing again. Chen Xiang did not give up and hurriedly said, Little Naughty Dragon told me before that her Imperial Dragon Clan has a dual cultivation method for Divine Soul called the GODS Join Method. Their dual cultivation method can quickly increase the strength of their Divine Soul. Don't even think about it. Bai Yuyu could not accept such a thing. Although she knew about the thing between a man and a woman, and had seen Chen Xiang, Xue Xianxian and Hua Xiangyue do it many times, she felt uncomfortable just thinking about it. Oh! Su Meiyao was suddenly very interested. Little scoundrel, I actually really want to try fighting with you. Long Xue scoffed. Don't even think about it, Sister Meiyao, your strength is so weak. If your divine soul is too strong, you won't be able to balance with your body and the cultivation of the innate qi, there will be a problem. Chen Xiang cursed in his heart. D.A.M. Ned Little Naughty Dragon. But he knew that it was true. Su Meiyao had already determined that he would be the one to cook it for him in the future, but he could only look and not eat it. He had already said through the heaven realm that he had come to, and he didn't have many other concerns. Previously, due to a few things, he had to bear the pressure for a very long time, but now that he had suppressed it for so long and there was also a beautiful woman around him, he naturally wanted to start a meat business. Although he and Long Xue had always been training GODS Join Method inside the Divine Sense C, that was only in terms of divine soul, and not real physical body. Therefore, Chen Xiang felt that it couldn't be considered as it was, but of course, if he could practice GODS Join Method with Su Meiyao and her, he would still be very willing. What kind of place is this? After ascending, he was casually thrown in another place. Chen Xiang ran across the vast prairie, and could not see the end of it. Normally, you would appear in the welcoming hall of the Immortal Palace. This situation is rare, it can only be said that your luck is bad. Su Meiyao said. What is an Immortal Palace? Chen Xiang felt that his luck was not bad. If he landed in those immortal palaces full of enemies, it would be troublesome. A palace here should be about half the size of a Chun martial continent. There are many immortal palaces in a heaven realm, and they vary in size, so immortal palaces are usually controlled by a large power. If it's a fire divine palace, then their immortal palace would be called the Fire God Immortal Palace, and the Fire Divine Palace would be in the best position in the Fire God Immortal Palace. Su Meiyao said. However, this was the first time Chen Xiang found out about it. Previously, when she was chatting with Su Meiyao, she didn't mention it. There is also another situation. There are many Immortal Palace secret manuals located in one place, and that place will be called Immortal Country. The Immortal Palaces there will all be controlled by one person, and the kings of the Immortal Country will all be at the Immortal King's level, while the Immortal Palaces will all be controlled by Immortal Monarch. Bai Yu added. Generally, dozens of Immortal Palaces are needed to form a Immortal Country. Of course, there are also those that are not named after their countries, for example, some Fire Divine Palace S or Devil Suppressing Divine Palace S. In short, Heaven Realm S are very big, have a lot of power, and have a lot of strong warriors. Su Meiyao said. If you run in one direction, you should be able to see the Immortal Palace. When the time comes, you will be able to see the transmission array. Then how do we get to the 9th day? Chen Xiang asked. In the past, the 9 days were divided into different levels, and required a certain amount of strength to go there, but now it should be equal. If you look up at night, you will be able to see 8B, A, L, L, S of light, which are the other 8 days. They are very far away from here, and require one to travel through the starry sky to reach there. Long Shui said, Imperial Dragon Clan is hiding in one of the skies, called Long Tian. I think the powers up there were all secretly supported by Imperial Dragon Clan. Now that you have the transmission array, you don't need to travel through the starry sky anymore. When you get the spiritual crystal, you can go. Su Meiyao said. After sprinting for a good half a day, Chen Xiang finally saw the legendary Immortal Palace. From afar, he could see that it was a gigantic bull crawling on the ground, and Chen Xiang could only see a shadow of it. It's the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. I didn't expect you to be in this area. Su Meiyao said. The walls of this immortal palace is 30,000 meters high, and it took many years to construct it, and when the huge immortal formation absorbed the immortal energy outside, it would cause the immortal palace to look like an ox, and over time, people would call it Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Chen Xiang was shocked. The wall of light that surrounded the palace was 30,000 meters tall, and the palace was half the size of a Chun martial continent. It was surrounded by a 100,000-meter-high wall, and it was even possible to set up an immortal formation. It seems that my evil dragon graveyard is still too weak. Chen Xiang had thought that his own evil dragon graveyards were relatively powerful, but now, he knew that they were nothing more than mediocre. It's all because of the contribution of these giant walls. Even if the immortal king came, he would have to expend a lot of energy in order to create a gap in front of him, in order to build these giant walls. The reason is that the heaven realm has been in constant battles for many years, whether it be from demons, or the attacks of other days, or the battles between the various immortal palaces. Su Meiyao said. Chen Xiang was very happy to be able to come to a place where there were people gathered. He did not care where he was. He urgently needed to know some things that had happened here, to find friends that had ascended earlier than him. Chen Xiang was very happy to be able to come to a place where there were people gathered. He did not care where he was. He urgently needed to know some things that had happened here, to find friends that had ascended earlier than him. Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace belongs to the neutral zone, and rarely interferes with any dispute. However, the business compet 1. Tie-in inside is still very intense. Chen Xiang arrived at the entrance of the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Entering the place did not require any entrance fee, which left a good impression on Chen Xiang. You just came to the Heaven Realm, it's best if you don't rush to find your friends and relatives, this is temporarily meaningless, everyone's strength is not the strongest here, so if you cause trouble, it will implicate them, you better act alone, with Shui Yi's help, you can escape from danger easily. Back then, when Shi and Su Meiyao roamed the Heaven Realm, they had a certain level of experience. Su Meiyao completely agreed with Bai Yuyu's words and said, "There are many people in this Heaven Realm that are very sinister, able to use all sorts of methods, you should have already seen it before, right?" Chen Xiang could only give up the idea of searching for his friends and relatives. What Su Meiyao said made sense, as there were many treasures on his body, that would be enough for many people to do whatever they wanted. After entering the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, Chen Xiang looked at the many streets. He did not know which one to take, and it was extremely big, so very few people would be able to visit this place. As expected of the Immortal Palace above the Heaven Realm, just entering the door would cause people to be stunned. At this time, a well-dressed handsome youth ran over with a smile. He tugged on the youth's sleeves and asked, "This big brother, you have just entered the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, a large immortal palace, do you need me to help you get familiar with this place?" Chen Xiang still had a little spiritual crystal on him, which he had obtained from the sacred Dan realm. He said, "I need a lot of spiritual crystal, I'm a poor B.A.S.T.A.R.D. Don't be too expensive, I can't afford it." Before he came, he had already emptied the entire spar, because there was no use in bringing it here. 10 spiritual crystal S are enough, but you have to shelter and feed me, I will lead you for 3 days, I will do my best to let you have a meal in this Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. It looks like he's a professional doing this. Chen Xiang took out 5 spiritual crystal and handed them over to him. "Give me half of them first, pay me in the next half and wait for 3 days. The young man accepted it and said, "No problem, the young lad's name is Chang Jiankai, you can call me to see my talent, what about you, big brother?" Chen Xiang laughed. "Commonwealth, not a bad name, my name is Shen Yi." After arriving at the Heaven Realm, Chen Xiang was also extremely cautious. He did not reveal his true appearance, but only changed his appearance a little, making others look like middle-aged people. That way, it would be difficult to recognize him even with a portrait. Chen Xiang had already known before that he had some fame in the Heaven Realm, but this was not a good thing for him, because others knowing about him was all because of his green dragon demon-slaying broadsword, as well as his heaven-earth killing method. However, there were a lot of people of this level in the Heaven Realm. As the Heaven Realm did not lack in medicinal pills to help with the tribulation, it was relatively easy to pass the tribulation here. Chang Jiankai brought Chen Xiang to a middle CLA's inn. This was Chen Xiang's request, it was too expensive, and he couldn't afford to live in it, it was too poor, and it wasn't too comfortable. The place he was currently in was an area within the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, and it could be considered a bustling area. Look at the money, what's the price of the pills here? For example, a high-grade ground-level pill, or a low-grade heaven-level pill. Chen Xiang asked, these 2 pills should be more commonly used in Heaven Realm. The Relive Dan S for the superior grade ground-level pellet are 200 spiritual crystal S per pellet, and the prices for the high-grade ground-level pellets are almost this high. As for the inferior grade heaven-level pellets, they need 1,000 spiritual crystal S per pellet. Chang Jiankai replied. He was very familiar with the owner of this inn, so he could rent 2 rooms at a very cheap price. This price? So low. Chen Xiang was extremely shocked, and so was Su Meiyao. Su Meiyao had told him just now, extremely shocked, that in the past, the high-rank ground-level pill would cost over 1,000 spar, and the low-rank pill would cost at least 7 to 8,000 spar. Big brother, you couldn't have ascended from the heavens, right? If that's really the case, then your luck is too terrible. No powers would want the flowing gold immortal that didn't appear in the hall. Chang Jiankai looked at Chen Xiang in shock, his eyes filled with admiration. This was because the people who could ascend from the lower realms were all extremely powerful and possessed extremely powerful abilities. Only then would they be able to stand out in that world and arrive in this higher realm. That's right, but I heard that the pills shouldn't be so cheap. Don't tell me all the herbs here are like cabbages and can be grown all at once? Chen Xiang continued to ask. He felt that there must be a reason behind this. He laughed and said, "This is all thanks to Sacred Dan Realm merging into the Heaven Realm a while ago. The Sacred Dan Realm has a lot of medicinal ingredients, and in order to SN ATC the Heaven Realm's medicine market, they have put the price very, very low." And Su Meiyao were both extremely shocked that the Sacred Dan Realm had actually become one with the Heaven Realm. "Isn't your big sister Long Huishan the Long family's patriarch? She's also a female dragon king, you can go and find her," Long Shui said with a tinge of jealousy. Chen Xiang didn't plan to look for Long Huishan now. Although Long Huishan was a female dragon king, and was considered to be at the top in terms of strength, and was also very loyal, Chen Xiang was worried that he would bring her trouble. "Look at the money, can you find out how many people have flown up in recent years? Where have they gone?" Chen Xiang asked. Although he did not plan to look for them, he still wanted to find out more. "I heard that most of the people who ascended during this period of time were from the worldly king Immortal Palace." Chang Jiankai thought about it and said, "Isn't the human king's Immortal Palace the human emperor hall?" Chen Xiang remembered that it was created by an expert back then in the continent of the king. How many years of history has that worldly Immortal Palace been? Chen Xiang asked, because he had never heard of the human king's Immortal Palace. "It's been so many years. Originally, it was not called the human king's Immortal Palace, but rather the Jade-Du Immortal Palace, but later on, the master of the palace seemed to have been defeated and lost an immortal palace. It has been so many years. Originally it was not the human king's immortal palace, but the Jade-Du Immortal Palace, but later on, the master of the palace seemed to have been defeated and lost an immortal palace." Su Meiyao said, "Jade-Si Immortal Palace should be that by Xia Dan Immortal. You should still remember that." Of course, Chen Xiang remembered that back then when he was sparring with one of the Fire Divine Palaces in order to refine pills, that guy had boasted about how powerful his master, the Bai Xia Dan Immortal, was, and that Bai Xia Dan Immortal had also lost to Su Meiyao before. Chen Xiang asked at this time, "Sister Meiyao, did you guys have any immortal palaces or anything like that in the past?" "How could that be possible? I have too many enemies. We don't dare to establish an immortal palace, we would only let our enemies have the opportunity to build one," Su Meiyao said. "How could that be possible? I have too many enemies. We don't dare to establish an immortal palace, we would only let our enemies have the opportunity to build one," Su Meiyao said. "I did have a devil art once in the demonic world, it was also known as devil. Bai Yu said, after I gave it to my sister, I didn't know how she would deal with it." After resting for a day, Chen Xiang followed Chang Jiankai to the big pill shop. He had to see the price of the herbs here. He needed to collect some medicinal herbs to make a copy. When he was in Sacred Dan Realm, there were not many high-level herbs, but there were quite a few lower and ground-level which was just that Chen Xiang did not need them at that time. The Heaven Realm was so vast, Chen Xiang believed that he could purchase even the immortal grade's medicine, but the condition was that he had to have sufficient wealth. The Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace was divided into 5 areas, east, south, west, and 4th each, and then there was a central area. The central area was surrounded by a very high wall, and was considered an obli area. The Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace was very big. Even if one did not enter the center, there were many places to live. There were not only streets and houses, there were also mountains and rivers, only that there were no immortal beasts within the mountains and rivers. Aside from the walls, this place was also very safe. Elder Brother Shin, this is a fairly good pill shop outside of the realm of Flame Heaven. Chang Jiankai followed Chen Xiang's instructions and brought him to a medicine shop. From here, he could see the huge walls that surrounded the central area. The central region was also known as the Heavenly Domain. It was a region of people who lived and dressed well, and they were all very expensive. The central region was also known as the Heavenly Region. It was a region of people, and the food and clothing were all very expensive, and the sky realm only had 1,000 feet high wall, and it wasn't as tall as the ones that surrounded the entire Sky Palace. Chen Xiang and Chang Jiankai were able to reach here through the transmission array. There were many teleportation points in the Immortal Palace, and because the teleportation area was inside the Immortal Palace, it was not expensive, so many people could teleport there. Of course, Chen Xiang wanted to enter the Heaven Realm to see. Moreover, he had already heard from Chang Jiankai that there was such a Heaven Realm in almost every Immortal Palace, and the immortal aura there was the densest and most abundant. Elder Brother Shin, in order to enter the Heavenly Region, 10,000 spiritual crystal would need to buy a pass, and that would only be enough for a month's time. Chang Jiankai immediately reminded Chen Xiang when he saw that Chen Xiang was staring at the big door of the wall and wanted to look inside. Although Chen Xiang was very generous and teleported people were all out with him, Chang Jiankai did not think that he had enough spiritual crystal to buy the permit. Chen Xiang replied with an "oh." He did not say that he would enter from the main gate, as even an immortal king would not be able to enter in a place like Evil Dragon Graveyard. However, he was able to enter, so he felt that entering the Heavenly Realm was not too difficult. 10,000 spiritual crystal was not easy to earn. One Hunyuan Dan was only able to push 1,000 spiritual crystal to their deaths, and he would not casually sell longevity fruit and nature fruit. He did not want longevity fruits, immortal fruits, that could extend his life to fall into the hands of his enemies. The Relive Dan and Hunyuan Dan that were sold at such an expensive price are all here as cabbages. It seems that the Heaven Realm has a lot of resources now. Chen Xiang muttered to himself, and then followed Chang Jiankai into the pill shop that was relatively well decorated. Of course, in the Heaven Realm, there are many big powers that have had breakthroughs in the time formation, especially those that are used to grow medicinal herbs, so those medicinal herbs that take a very long time to mature can all be produced in a short period of time. However, that kind of large formation can only be established by big powers, and only those big powers can maintain it, and they can also make profits from it. The one speaking was an old man in the pill shop. From his appearance, he should be here to buy pills. Previously, Chen Xiang had heard from him that some large powers were indeed researching on great formations that could speed up the growth of medicinal herbs. But now, after such a long period of time, they had already made a breakthrough in this area. However, this is only limited to a portion of the medicinal ingredient. There are some medicinal ingredients that should not be increased in speed, and if those high-tier medicinal ingredients are grown by this method, they will also end up growing in a bad state. The old man continued. Lucky kid, your luck is pretty good these days. You can always find a business to do it. The old man patted Chang Jiansai's head and laughed. Chen Xiang could already tell that this old man should be the shopkeeper. However, this guest of mine is not lucky. He flew up and did not appear at the welcoming Immortal Palace. Chang Jiankai said. The old man smiled at Chen Xiang and said, "It doesn't matter if he doesn't appear in the welcoming Immortal Hall. Powerful people can S.H.I. plus and E anywhere. Do you need any medicinal pills?" Chen Xiang was going to ask, but he didn't have any spiritual crystal now, so the herbs that he needed was not something that the spiritual crystal could afford. Do you have the sacred animal dan's medicinal ingredients? Chun Xiang still asked, because the sacred animal dan was given to him to eat, and the medicine inside was a type of medicine that could be grown. The lowest rank was the lower one of the heaven level, and the highest was the holy level, which was why it was called the sacred animal dan, but the holy level's sacred animal dan had never appeared before. Yes, but a sacred animal fruit with only one heart. The old man said. Sacred animal fruits were transparent, and in the center, they would grow a small fruit core. Growing one would mean that they could refine pills, and sacred animal dan that could refine lower quality heaven level S would be able to refine middle quality heaven level S, such as this. How much? Chun Xiang was definitely going to take it. Even if he didn't refine a pill, if he gave it to Long Shui to eat, it would temporarily help her satisfy her craving. The people around him immediately turned to look at him. Most of the people here were people that knew Chang Jiankai very well, and they knew that the people Chang Jiankai had brought were mostly poor people, yet they dared to ask about the price of the sacred animal fruit, even though they knew it wholeheartedly. 2 million spiritual crystal. This is a pretty generous offer. If it's in the heavenly region, I would need at least another 200,000 spiritual crystal to win it. Chun Xiang was so shocked by the price that his face changed drastically. He anxiously asked Su Meiyao, Sister Meiyao, is this old fellow disrespecting me? Is it that expensive? In the past, 1 million spiritual crystal could be taken down, but now, because of the appearance of those large arrays, the price of medicinal herbs will rise, especially for those medicinal herbs that can be promoted. It should be around this price. If you can use this to grow the triple core, then take out the fruit and plant it, then you can get 3. Su Meiyao said. Chun Xiang had previously asked Chen Jianqing about the price of the herbs here, and it was indeed higher than the price of the pills. Because many of the herbs were now treated as seeds and the price was relatively high, and those who bought the seeds would definitely be able to earn back, so using them to refine pills was not worth it. Chun Xiang had previously asked Chen Jianqing about the price of the herbs here, and it was indeed higher than the price of the pills. Because many of the herbs were now treated as seeds and the price was relatively high, and those who bought the seeds would definitely be able to earn back, so using them to refine pills was not worth it. It seems that there are no wild alchemists here, and many great powers have mastered a large amount of medicinal ingredients. Alchemist has always been relying on those powers, and have a large amount of medicinal ingredients to use in the refining process. Don't worry about the matters of the medicinal ingredients, this can indeed attract many alchemists. Su Meiyao said. Although the heaven realm had changed a lot, she could quickly accept it. Hearing that the price was so expensive, Long Shui's heart went cold and he sighed in disappointment. Chun Xiang anxiously said, About that, can I use other medicine to exchange for it? I don't have that many spiritual crystal around me right now. Honestly, the reason why this sacred animal fruit is so expensive is because this thing can grow into a holy level's medicinal ingredient, so normal medicinal ingredients cannot compare to it. Tell me, what kind of medicinal ingredient do you plan to use to exchange for it? The old man asked. Chun Xiang felt that this pill shop was also controlled by a great power. Nature fruit said. This was a low-grade heaven-level medicine. He felt it should not be that bad. You have 15, I'll trade with you. The old man said. 15 nature fruit were enough to fight against more than 2 million spiritual crystal. Go on, this old fellow is quite generous. In the past, although nature fruits were lacking, they weren't as expensive as those who were sold. Su Meiyao said. To the heaven realm, nature fruits still held a pretty good position because they were not of a high level but not low either. Many of the peak nirvana stage or late stage or immortal monarchs could afford to buy them. This was also the reason why Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu wanted Chun Xiang to be able to get their hands on the nature fruit very much. Chun Xiang wanted to trade, but he didn't have that many nature fruit at the moment. He only had one by his side, a foundation that he could use to duplicate things, so he couldn't use it. Do you want to use a longevity fruit, or a diamond fruit? Chen Xiang asked. The price of longevity fruit would definitely not be low here. It was a fruit that could let people who were about to die of old age to obtain rebirth. Don't use it, don't let these things leak out. Long Shui anxiously said. Those high-leveled medicinal herbs, they cannot be leaked out. Chen Xiang said to the old man, Can you save some for me? I will save enough spiritual crystal to buy more. The old man looked troubled. I'm afraid I can't. There are already a lot of people who have reserved this sacred animal fruit with me. The 3 in the heaven realm have all been sold off very quickly, so I'm afraid that I won't be able to protect this sacred animal fruit for long. Just then, Chang Jiankai ran in and said, That young Bli Feng is here. I remember that the last time he was here, he wanted to buy sacred animal fruit too, but it was not enough, right? Chen Xiang panicked. Then, his mind flashed as he immediately said, Old senior, do you want to exchange for half of the longevity fruit? Without the whole fruit it would be very difficult to grow it, but Chen Xiang could tell that the shopkeeper was pretty strong. He should be at the late stage of the immortal realm, or even the immortal monarch. There must be a lot of spiritual crystals. Even if he was here to help look after the store, he could still produce his own batch of spiritual crystal. Although it was just half of it, but if the fire in the alchemist was enough, they could still refine a myriad life pill. Although it might not be able to extend their lifespan by 10,000 years, it was still possible to refine a myriad life pill after a few thousand years. Enough. This shopkeeper wasn't a fool. This kind of thing was something that could only be encountered by luck and not sought after. He kept it for later use. If it stagnated in the future and his lifespan ran out, it would be of great help. It only flowed out halfway. Chen Xiang felt that it was nothing, but when he took it out, the old man was a little disappointed, as this side was a little small. This was cut by Su Meiyao. She cut it to be as small as possible, enough to make a longevity pill, and she couldn't let anyone plant it through those arrays. But even so, the shopkeeper still changed and gave the sacred animal fruit to Chen Xiang. Manager, hurry up and take out that sacred animal fruit. I brought the spiritual crystal here. 2 million spiritual crystal, right? Before the person appeared, his voice had already reached his ears. Following that, a man wearing blue clothes walked in with big step. He held this fan in his hand and a few big men followed behind him. Seeing that set of clothes, Chen Xiang was sure that this young Bli Feng was someone from the Feng clan, and that these Tong Tian aristocratic family had a lot of power and influence, so they could not be underestimated. When young Master Feng came in, he immediately saw that the sacred animal fruit was in Chen Xiang's hands, and when Chen Xiang saw him come in, he anxiously packed it away, and brought Chang Jiankai along with him to leave. Wait! When young Master Feng came in, he was elated, but after knowing that the sacred animal fruit had just been bought, his face immediately became gloomy. Enemies have a narrow path, Chen Xiang thought in his heart. He had just arrived at the heaven realm, and he had already started fighting with the Feng clan. Previously, he had a huge enmity with the Feng clan, so the Feng clan should be very clear about this as well. Can you sell me your sacred animal fruit? Even though young Master Feng asked this, his handsome face was not friendly at all. It was dark and gloomy, and he looked very deceitful. Not selling, I have great uses for it. Chen Xiang was about to leave after answering the question. He did not want to confront the Feng clan right now, as he did not have the energy to do so. The people around them were all watching the commotion. A person who had just ascended had met with Feng clan lord. The person who had ascended was once a peak character in that world. Naturally he had his own pride, and Feng clan lord was not weak. He had some strong experts by his side. You don't have to do this with me. Even if I knew who your family is, I wouldn't sell it to you. I have great use for it, and I don't lack spiritual crystals. Chen Xiang said directly, then brought Chang Jiankai out of the shop without even turning his head. Don't even think about leaving. With a wave of his hand, he released a strong suction force that sucked Chang Jiankai over. Seeing this scene, the medicine store's shopkeeper frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, "Young En, oh, Bli Feng, this matter does not have anything to do with the little kid, right? Please take note of the rules of the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. This place is not the Feng clan's Divine Wind Immortal Country, so you should not be too presumptuous here." Although Chang Jiankai did not have much strength, he was the most sweet of all. Many people knew him very well. The young master of the Feng clan was probably used to being unreasonable. He pinched the back of Chang Jiankai's neck and coldly shouted at him, "Sell the sacred animal fruit to me, otherwise I will break this brat's neck." The people around them were enraged. They didn't say anything about dealing with Chen Xiang, but Chang Jiankai was just a little kid who only ran errands to earn his living. He had nothing to do with Chen Xiang at all, and was actually used by the Feng clan's young En. Oh, Bli, to threaten others. Seeing the faces of the people around them, the men hurriedly gathered their power to prevent them from attacking their young master. Seeing the faces of the people around them, the men hurriedly gathered their power to prevent them from attacking their young master. "Young En, oh, Bli Feng shouted, I will count to 3. If you don't take out the sacred animal fruit, I will attack. 1. Just as he counted to 1, the angry people around him wanted to shout to stop young En. Oh, Bli Feng, but Chen Xiang suddenly disappeared from his original position. When young En, oh, Bli Feng saw Chen Xiang suddenly disappearing, he did not continue shouting. Suddenly, a red light flashed, then, young En, oh, Bli Feng suddenly grabbed Chang Jiankai's arm and broke it off from his shoulder, causing Chen Xiang to appear beside young En. Oh, Bli Feng, in the encirclement of the big men. At the same time, grabbed Chang Jiankai and threw him towards the old shopkeeper. Everyone could see that Chen Xiang was holding onto a dagger that was emitting a red light, and at the same time, stabbed it into young En. Oh, Bli Feng's neck. Chen Xiang then grabbed Chang Jiankai and threw him over to the old shopkeeper. You actually... Young Master Feng turned pale with fright. Although he lost an arm and had a stab on the side of his neck, he didn't feel any pain. Go to Hell. The incomparably furious Chen Xiang, however, looked terrifyingly calm, causing people to shudder in fear. No one could understand that under such a furious situation, the person in front of them was able to maintain such a calm demeanor, and turn his anger into strength. Chen Xiang held the Devil Emperor dagger tightly, and pierced into young En. Oh, Bli Feng's abdomen, then he took out the heavenly pellets inside, and the few big-sized men reacted, and immediately threw a punch towards him, with great strength, but in the next moment, Chen Xiang strangely disappeared, causing all of their power to land on young En. Oh, Bli Feng's body. The few burly men all had the strength of late period of human immortals, and when they attacked at the same time, they released power that caused half of the pill shop to collapse. To make a move inside the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, and even destroy a relatively high-end medicine shop, the Feng clan would either compensate the S with a large sum or make preparations to be hostile to the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Although the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace rarely fought with other forces, if there were people provoking them here, the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace would definitely retaliate viciously. After Chen Xiang escaped from young En, oh, Bli Feng's heavenly pellet, he used a transformation technique on the smoke and dust of the collapsed shop, leaving no one's sight, and went to a place devoid of people, before changing into a new appearance. This guy is simply courting death. What a pity! I almost got my hands on that guy's storage ring. There are 2 million spiritual crystal inside. Chen Xiang sighed in his heart. When the time is right, let's do it this way. This time, you did a good job. Bai Yu said coldly. If it was me, I would have killed the big men beside him. I would have taken out all of the heaven pellets, and made them completely strong. Chen Xiang had already known from the beginning that if someone offended Bai Yu or them, as long as they caught them, there was a high chance that they would suffer the same fate as what Bai Yu had just said. Chen Xiang would not go look for Chang Jiankai again. He only dared to help because he saw that many people were worried about Chang Jiankai. This was because even if the Feng clan were to pursue the matter further, it would have nothing to do with Chang Jiankai. If you can get the sacred animal fruit, that's fine. But don't you have a little more creation divine liquid? Enough to copy one for me, right? Long Shui said she liked to eat fruits more and the taste was much better than refining pills. This little naughty dragon, his appet, 1. T is getting bigger and bigger. Fortunately, he is here in the heaven realm, otherwise it would be very difficult to get suitable for you to eat. Chen Xiang scolded jokingly, and then he went to a place close to the central sky region, which was very close to the pill shop, and asked around to find out how big of a commotion that would cause. At that time, Chen Xiang's attack was very heavy. When he took out that fellow's heaven pellet, he poured a very strong power into it, breaking all of his meridians and releasing a very strong soul attack to wipe out that person's soul. On one hand, there were people who broke the rules of the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, which was equivalent to provoking the dignity of the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, so according to the ways of the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, they would try to hold the two sides accountable, but now that Chen Xiang had escaped, the people of the Feng clan were still around. Although the young master had died, the Feng clan was still required to compensate. Only now did Chen Xiang know that the disciple of the Feng clan that he had killed had a high status. The former son of heaven was known as the Holy Prince. If it was the other children of the immortal king of the divine wind immortal country, they would all be called princes or princesses, and their descendants would be princes or princesses. And the person Chen Xiang had just killed was a grandson, the son of a prince of the divine wind immortal country. There is no one here who would dare to claim to be an emperor, at most they would be a king. Didn't you kill an immortal king before? What's so good about a divine wind immortal country? Long Shui said. Chen Xiang never thought that those Tong Tian aristocratic family S and sage realms would all be able to form a immortal country here. If that was the case, then Ji Meixian and Zhao Yiprofound's standing inside would definitely not be low. Immortal country by high should exist. If you have time, ask around and see how those two little maids are doing. Chen Xiang said while rubbing his chin. You don't have to worry about them. Ji Meixian is a very mysterious person in the past. She can definitely help Zhao Yiprofound, this little maid, to achieve a very high status, and at the same time, help Zhao Yiprofound to raise his strength and obtain more resources. Su Meiyao said. Chen Xiang came to an inn, laid on the bed and said, Wait till my strength increases a little, I have to properly pay a visit to these old rivals of mine. Back then, they didn't have much use for me when they were at D Tian's, but here I'm sure it was a lot. Dogs! Long Shui suddenly said. Could it be Tengu? Su Meiyao cried out in alarm. Quickly run, this kind of beast has a very keen sense of smell. No matter how hard you try to conceal yourself, you will be able to smell your scent and follow them for millions of miles. Chen Xiang immediately teleported through SPAC, left the tavern, and rushed in the direction of the transmission array. He wanted to immediately leave this Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, and leave the area where the Heavenly Dog was searching for him. Are there a lot of these things in the Heaven Realm? If there are a lot, I won't be able to survive. Chen Xiang teleported to the entrance of the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Not many, but it's still very easy to get powerful people. Leave the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace first, and come back after some time. Su Meiyao said. Not long after Chen Xiang entered, he had to leave Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, but he did have a good harvest after entering and collected sacred animal fruit. They're here, this group of people are very professional. Long Shui shouted. Chen Xiang never thought that he would follow closely behind. He immediately stepped onto the shrinking step and used his fastest speed to escape the tracking radius. There are a total of 3 tengus. If you drip 3 drops of blood, I'll help you control the 3 drops and send them away. They should be able to chase after the blood. Long Shui said. Chen Xiang produced 3 drops of blood and said, "Is that really going to work? Don't waste my blood." Chen Xiang produced 3 drops of blood and said, "Is that really going to work? Don't waste my blood." Long Shui used his divine power to control the 3 drops of blood to fly towards 3 different directions, and said, "You just need to continue running, this way you'll be able to divert at least 1 or 2 of the wild dogs. These wild dogs have bad brains, even if they can tell that the 3 drops of blood is not the correct target, they will still go chase." Sure enough, Chen Xiang had already used his heaven tour to look behind him. He saw 2 dogs bringing 2 groups of people towards another direction, and it was Long Shui who had used his blood to lure them away. "Looks like the remaining dog is a good dog," Long Shui said. "It shouldn't be that hard anymore right now, there's only a small group of people chasing after you." Even so, Chen Xiang did not dare to face it alone. After all, those people who were chasing him were immortals who grew up here, and he had not confirmed their strength yet. "If there is an immortal monarch, you only need to take care of that dog," Bai Yu said. The people who came to track Chen Xiang should have been sent by the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Chen Xiang didn't have any enmity with them, and they were only doing things impartially. Chen Xiang intentionally slowed down his speed, so that the people behind him could catch up quickly so that he could kill the sky dog. That way, he could escape from the pursuers of the group of people. After slowing down, he could quickly sense the auras of those people. There's actually a heavenly monarch, looks like that Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace is quite strong, to be able to send one of his immortal monarchs to finish you off, Long Shui said. Chen Xiang was now only at the immortal realm, and was only at the early stages. He felt that it would be difficult for him to break through in the future, but now that he had just entered this realm, he would not think about breaking through anymore for the time being. At most, he would only be able to deal with late-stage immortals. If he were to face a mortal monarch, he might have to engage in a bitter battle unless the opponent was a demon or he used poison or a sneak attack to win. "I can't fight against this immortal monarch, but I can still kill that dog right in front of his eyes." Chen Xiang continued to slow down, and when the people chasing after him saw his back, they immediately became vigilant, because they sensed that the people in front had deliberately allowed them to catch up. Chen Xiang took a deep breath and started to condense his divine power, then locked onto the snow-white Tengu. "Let's use the soul-absorbing devil spell Soul Dispersing Curse. Using this technique to attack this kind of beast does not require much strength, it will be very effective," Bai Yu said. Chen Xiang originally only planned to attack directly with his spirit, but after hearing Bai Yu's words, he immediately used the soul-absorbing devil spell. In the past, due to the limitations of his own strength, he was unable to use many of the techniques within the soul-absorbing devil spell, and this soul-dispersing curse was one of them. He chanted an incantation, and after condensing the power of the incantation, he immediately turned around and roared towards the back. He chanted an incantation, and after condensing the power of the incantation, he immediately turned around and roared backwards. Seeing these black incantations, those people immediately defended themselves, because they did not know what it was, worried that this was some powerful evil technique, but that Tengu was not so lucky. After the wind formed from the mantra blew past, that Tengu had become a stupid dog, although it was fine, its soul had already dispersed, and although it did not have a body, it was already crippled. What a powerful mental attack! Just who is this person? He has already caused us to lose a Tengu. We must get this debt back from him, a relatively young man said with a head full of sweat. Just now, he only felt that he was as lacking as this Tengu, by a small margin, to become an idiot. If I'm not mistaken, This should be the legendary soul-absorbing devil spell. We must immediately inform Asgard Mistress about this matter. He was the strength of immortal monarch, and was more knowledgeable than these youngsters. Let's hurry up and leave. This person had held back earlier. If he wanted to deal with us, you guys would have been in trouble already. The old man kept the Tengu into storage magic treasure that could store demonic beasts, and then quickly left with the other young men. Chen Xiang, who was running away, had left a strand of divine soul to eavesdrop on their conversation. If they see that I am using the soul-absorbing devil spell, it shouldn't be a problem. Chen Xiang asked Bai Yuyu. Although he had used devil arts many times, but most of the people knew that he had this kind of powerful devil arts, and very few could survive. No, they don't know who you are. Bai Yuyu didn't mind at all, however. This will still cause some waves. The attraction of the strange techniques in the demon world is even more attractive than many of the immortal world's divine art. Chen Xiang also felt that the devouring magic kung fu, for example, was extremely useful, but he seldom used it now, and had only chosen to use it as an opportunity. He would not blindly use this devil art to swallow other people to raise his strength. If he used too much of it, it would more or less leave behind some hidden dangers. If he were to fall into the hands of someone who had ill intentions, he would definitely be especially useful. In the end, he would only end up being killed. I have to quickly find that sacred beast's ancient realm. The beast slain method is inside, and that Dan Emperor is also marked with an item there. I wonder if the Dan Emperor is hiding something there. This was what Chen Xiang was more concerned about right now. He needed to gather all the heaven-earth killing method as soon as possible. If that's the case, you first have to go to a place with more immortal palaces or a super-large immortal palace in order to find out where that place is. Su Meiyao said. Then how do we get there? Chen Xiang asked anxiously. If you want to undergo teleportation, you have to enter the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace's heavenly realm. Only inside there can be large-scale transmission arrays. Don't even think about walking on your own. Even if it's a fellow like White Tiger, it would be hard to reach in a short period of time. Su Meiyao's words made it difficult for him. He could not enter the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace now. He had just killed another person's Tengu, and those people already knew that he understood soul-absorbing devil spell. Don't worry, I can help you deal with this, but I'm still a little bit away from breaking through. As long as I can break through, I can let those Tengu not smell even the slightest hint of you. Long Shui said with complete confidence. It's true. Chen Xiang obviously knew what Long Shui was planning. Of course, give me about 20 more sacred animal fruit before I break through. Long Shui counted with his fingers inside the ring. Chen Xiang, who was running, also calculated how long it would take him to copy 20 sacred animal fruit. Chen Xiang, who was running, also calculated how long it would take him to copy 20 sacred animal fruit. According to the speed of the Hunyuan Dan's medicinal herbs, I can create it within a month. Chen Xiang thought there were different main ingredients for Hunyuan Dan. He could get 10 each every month. If nothing unexpected happened, the amount of creation divine liquid that he condensed in a month should be enough to duplicate 20 sacred animal fruit. Don't use this reason to trick me into eating the fruit. If you dare to lie to me, I'll definitely spank you. Chen Xiang said now he could only choose this method. As long as he was not discovered when he entered the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, he would be able to obtain spiritual crystal there and then leave the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Humph, they're already so familiar with you, yet you still don't believe them? Long Shui snorted. Chen Xiang left the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace and arrived at a forest beside a large river. He hid in it to condense creation divine liquid and make some sacred animal fruit for Long Shui to eat. I wonder if we can get our 2 hearts worth of sacred animal fruit. How are the effects compared to 20 of them? Chen Xiang asked Su Meiyao. It's hard to say. In the past when I refined pills, I had only used sacred animal fruits that were wholehearted in nature. I have never seen two-sided sacred animal fruits, unless they were forces that specifically raise immortal beasts. Su Meiyao said. There's no need to be double-hearted. As long as it's wholehearted, it's fine. I've already calculated everything and can eat 20 of them just like that. It's not worth it to only eat one. There's no way I can satisfy my craving. Long Shui shouted. In order to satisfy Long Shui's appetite, Chen Xiang decided not to hara those 2 hearts of sacred animal fruit for the time being. He spent a month's time to duplicate 20 sacred animal fruit. After I sleep for 2 days, I'll be able to break through. Long Shui said a few words to Chen Xiang before he went to sleep. Just by sleeping, he could break through, causing Chen Xiang to be extremely envious. This little naughty dragon only raised strength by eating, drinking and sleeping all day. Even though it was like that, the speed at which she raised her strength was extremely fast. She was even stronger than him now, causing people to be extremely jealous. Chen Xiang did not stay idle these 2 days. He continued to condense creation divine liquid S. Right now, if he wanted to copy ingredients, they were all of high quality and would require a lot of creation divine liquid S. So whenever he had time or was Hi+ing, he would condense creation divine liquid S. If not, he would have to wait for many days. Long Shui woke up and yawned. Alright, you can go to Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace now. I guarantee that those Tengu won't find you. What if he finds me? Although Chen Xiang asked this, he was already Hi+ing towards the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. If you're found out, then hit my ass as much as you want. Long Shui said with complete confidence. How did you do it? Chen Xiang was extremely curious. What realm is your divine soul in now? The first stage is called the power of divine arts, and you are at this stage. The second stage is called the divine transformation, and this is the stage I went through previously. As you know, the third stage is called the boundless divine arts, which is also the final stage of the divine arts. Long Shui said, as for how powerful you are, you will know in the future once you have formed your contract. I can't explain it to you right now either. Chen Xiang scratched his head and said, Little naughty dragon, why are you raising your cultivation so fast? It's hard for my current cultivation in the divine way to even advance. Long Shui laughed proudly. This is called a race talent, you can't force it. You, as a human, only used such a small amount of time to reach this realm, you should be satisfied. I am the Heavenly Dragon Supreme Lord, you can't compare to me. Chen Xiang muttered in his heart. So what? No matter what emperor you are, you will always be my person in the future. A group of Devil Dao suddenly came to the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, and a few powerful demon immortals were hiding there. They all came for the soul-absorbing devil spell, especially for Motian, and he had almost smashed the pot. The soul-absorbing devil spell had been lost for countless of years, and now that he had finally appeared, there were many powerful demons that did not hesitate to use a large number of spiritual crystals, letting a group of people come over to investigate. As for the brainless heaven dog, after Chen Xiang used the soul-dispersing curse, it was already a treasure. Many almighty people who came to confirm the soul-absorbing devil spell had to spend a sum of spiritual crystal to examine the 7 spirits and 6 souls in the dog's body. Although the specific cultivation method of the soul-absorbing devil spell was lost, but after being struck by the soul-absorbing devil spell, the relevant information had still been set down. For example, right now, someone could tell from that Tengu that he had been hit by the soul-dispersing curse. The mysterious man who used the soul-absorbing devil spell had disappeared outside of Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Previously, he had killed the Divine Wind Immortal Country's Wang Sun, and he was a person who had just ascended into the sky. The weapon of attack he used was also a demon weapon with dense killing intent. Chen Xiang went inside the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace again and strolled around outside the Sky Region wall. He already knew that Mo Tian had sent many experts to investigate the matter regarding the soul-absorbing devil spell. Sister Yu, you're quite accurate. As expected, it caused quite a commotion. Chen Xiang said. That is a given. The soul-absorbing devil spell has been lost for a long time. Although I have mastered it, I have not used it much. Only a few experts know that I understand this technique, and I am already dead in the eyes of these people. Bai Yu said. See, those Tengu did not chase me. I have reached the realm of limitless divine arts, and used the peerless divine ability that only the Heavenly Dragon Supreme Lord can use, to help you hide that trace of smell that Tengu can smell. Long Shui laughed proudly. Chen Xiang ignored her as he calculated how he would be able to enter the heaven realm. The permit would require 10,000 spiritual crystal to buy, and they would need to eat and live inside. When he first came to the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, Chang Jiankai had first brought him to a place where he could find work and work as much as he could to earn spiritual crystal. Chen Xiang couldn't think of a good idea for now, so he could only come here to take a look. He arrived at a bustling street, and found a 6-story tall wooden pag. Inside. There were a lot of people here, all waiting for the spiritual crystal to earn a good job. They were lazy eaters, and wanted to think of the least to do the simplest thing, to earn the most spiritual crystal. On the wall of the hall inside, there were many pieces of paper, and all that was written were jobs that could earn spiritual crystal s. Chen Xiang looked around. There were many jobs that could earn him a large amount of spiritual crystal, but it was very dangerous to actually kill a beast king-level immortal beast. Isn't this equivalent to courting death? I'm not going. Su Meiyao said. This is even more outrageous. It's just 1,000,000 spiritual crystal, yet he wants them to take a single beast egg from the king of beasts. I'll give him twice the price, and tell him to give me 2. Bai Yu said. Chen Xiang said, I only have over 1,000 spiritual crystal with me right now. I need over 10,000 spiritual crystal to enter the heavenly region. Chen Xiang said, I only have over 1,000 spiritual crystal with me right now. I need over 10,000 spiritual crystal to enter the heavenly region. Before he finished his sentence, he suddenly saw a piece of paper written on it. Number of recruits, your abilities must be at least human immortal grade. If it's a demon immortal or a demon immortal, as long as you have a beautiful woman or a worldly immortal, there's no limit. If you can pass the examination, you will be able to stay in the heavenly region for a long period of time. Who is this to actually need so many helpers? It seems that the conditions are not bad, and we can just use the spiritual crystal to sneak into the heaven realm. We might even be able to follow this fellow and leave the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Chen Xiang thought. You can use the 72 changes and become a beautiful woman. You might be able to pass the examination very easily. Long Shui chuckled. Chen Xiang said snappily, I don't change woman, just thinking about it makes me feel disgusted. Su Meiyao teased from the side as he laughed. I also want to see how this little scoundrel turns into a woman to deceive men. Just thinking about it makes me feel that it's very interesting. Chen Xiang secretly despised them all and memorized the address before walking out of the wooden tower to ask about the situation and see if he could pass the examination. After arriving at that place, Chen Xiang was brought into a small hall. He felt a little surprised because no matter how he looked at it, it did not look like the place where the great master lived. You are the 50th one today. No one has ever heard of this audit before. And this is also the last day. Work hard, young man. A big fellow said as he brought Chen Xiang in. Then how many fighters were recruited? Chen Xiang asked. So far, there are only 2. If you pass it would be the 3rd. After saying that, the big man left the hall. Chen Xiang waited for a moment, and a burst of fragrance suddenly assaulted him. Chen Xiang immediately looked outside the door, and in between, a lady dressed in a light green dress slowly walked in. She was extremely and beautiful, with many styles. Chen Xiang was stunned, not because of the girl's impeccable appearance, but because he recognized her. Yao Shumi, the leader from the past, had once threatened to take her daughter in as a female slave. However, this Yao Shumi and her daughter had a good relations, Hi+P with Lu Menger and the others. Could it be that this mother and daughter pair of flowers are both here? This beautiful mother and daughter pair, just thinking of them makes me drool. Hee. Long Shui smiled dubiously. Back then, when they were in the sacred Dan realm, a portion of them went to the heaven realm, and this Yao Shumi and her daughter Mu Jiaoan were one of them. They gave up their position in the Tian Peach Blossom Imperial Land and chose to go there instead. My test is very simple. First, I will attack you for 3 moves and you can dodge them one by one, proving that you have the ability to escape in times of danger. Then, you will attack me for 3 moves and let me see if your strength can satisfy me. Yao Shumi revealed a faint charming smile, but it did not lose out to his and dignified temperament. Chen Xiang's mental fort. 1. Tude was very good, although this Yao Shumi was more bewitching than before. He had long been trained in this area. It was not like he had never seen a woman who was as beautiful as him, and his number 1 slave, Hua Xiangyue, had even developed a very close relations, Hi+P with him. At this moment, he was unmoved. He knew that Yao Shumi purposely revealing a bewitching look was a kind of test for him. Chen Xiang also replied with a faint smile. Right now, he was only an ordinary-looking youth. Was secretly shocked. Earlier, when she had been looking at Chen Xiang, she had felt that she had already released her tempting powers to the extreme. Even in the Peach Blossom Immortal Country male immortal monarchs who were stronger than her would sometimes have evil thoughts in their hearts and reveal them in their eyes. However, the young man in front of him didn't seem to be affected at all. In addition, there was a hint of a mocking and playful smile on his face, as if to say, "For a trash like you, it's useless to strip naked." Yao Shumi was secretly shocked, but a very gentle smile surfaced on his face. The feeling this warm smile brought was like a gust of warm wind that suddenly blew in a cold world of ice and snow, causing one to be infatuated. Just then, Yao Shumi's soft and delicate palm suddenly struck over like a ray of light. Chen Xiang, who was already prepared, immediately turned and dodged to the side, dodging the palm strike. He brazenly took a deep breath of the wonderful fragrance released from Yao Shumi's body and laughed. Continue. Yao Shumi was such a strong woman, if not she would not have been leader's leader. She felt that she was being toyed with by a man, and fury filled her heart, as she landed lightly on the ground. Her body moved like a ghost, and in the blink of an eye, she was already behind Chen Xiang. Just as she was about to hit Chen Xiang, what made Yao Shumi angry was that during the most crucial moment, Chen Xiang had actually jumped up, and allowed her blade to miss. Humph! After Yao Shumi's palm hit nothing, she immediately extended out her beautiful long leg and kicked at Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang had a lot of battle experience, and understood Yao Shumi's thoughts very well. Everything was within his grasp. When he dodged Yao Shumi's palm strike, he knew that she would strike, and after he avoided it, he anxiously turned around. At this time, Yao Shumi had just raised her slender legs up high. Although she was still wearing her pants, but facing a man like this, she immediately blushed. Seeing the playful smile on Chen Xiang's face, Yao Shumi scolded in her heart. She felt that the person in front of her had done it on purpose, wanting to see her make a fool of herself. "You pass," said the first trial, "but if you don't pass the second trial, you still won't be able to become my fighter." Yao Shumi recovered from the shock and said softly. Chen Xiang nodded. "Are you really only in the elementary worldly immortal stage?" Yao Shumi suddenly asked. The qi the man in front of him was releasing, without a doubt, the aura of a worldly immortal. Of course. Chen Xiang said honestly. His innate qi was indeed at this level, so even if it was released, it did not matter. However, his body was very strong. Then you can make your move. You can use the innate qi to move your body, but you cannot use it when you attack. Yao Shumi warned repeatedly. If you are a threat to me, I will retaliate. Just as Chen Xiang wanted to take action, 3 figures flashed out, 1 girl and 2 men. The lady was a graceful and gentle lady. She looked extremely similar to Yao Shumi, wearing a pink dress. Her entire body was releasing a spiritual qi, and the lady was Yao Shumi's daughter, Mu Jialan. Chen Xiang was not surprised by the relations H.I plus P between mother and daughter. He was only curious why Yao Shumi had asked for a helper. Chen Xiang was not surprised by the relations H.I plus P between mother and daughter. He was only curious why Yao Shumi had asked for a helper. Chen Xiang guessed that the 2 men who came in with Mu Jialan were probably the other 2 thugs that they had just recruited. However, looking at their clothes and temperament, they did not seem like they lacked spiritual crystals to do this kind of work. These 2 men are both in the advanced stage of the immortal realm. That heavenly peach blossom Goddess only has the strength of the intermediate stage of the immortal realm. Who knows, they might not be a match for those 2 men. Long Shui said. She could quickly see the strength of others. The innate qi in those 2 men's bodies were very pure. They were not rogue cultivators, but rather from famous sections. Su Meiyao said. Mom, this is the person who just accepted the recruitment, right? How strong is he? Mu Jialan had a gentle and sweet smile on her face as she sized Chen Xiang up. No matter what kind of person the other party was, as long as they weren't her enemies, she would treat them politely. He has already passed, said the first round of my assessment. He is now in the second round. Yao Shumi's words surprised Mu Jialan slightly, and the 2 men were even more so surprised. They never thought that the person in front of them, although not much in terms of appearance, would have such strength. Mu Jialan's eyes lit up as he laughed. Mother, even the 2 ground-level guards from the 2 immortal countries were unable to clear your first round. I never thought that he would actually be able to do it. The light-robed man refused to accept this and immediately said, That's just because we haven't used our true strength yet. To lose face in front of a woman was something that these 2 men couldn't accept, even though Mu Jialan was speaking the truth. The other man in black also quickly said, If you don't let this brother compete with us, then you will know. Chen Xiang secretly laughed in his heart. He really wanted to teach these 2 a lesson, but just when he was about to agree, Yao Shumi said, We'll talk after I finish this round of examinations. Yao Shumi was secretly toyed with by Chen Xiang just now, so he was in a bad mood and wanted to take revenge. As long as I can meet you 3 times in the second round, I'll consider it as passing. Mu Jialan's eyes moved about. He looked at the 2 immortal countries' guards and spoke softly. Mother, this is extremely difficult. In these past few days, no one has been able to pass through even the first round, let alone the second round. In the past few days, Mu Jialan had been annoyed by these 2 immortal country guards, and took this opportunity to attack them. This was because they were unable to pass Yao Shumi's test and had to use their background to follow them. The 2 men's faces changed slightly, but they did not say anything, but Chen Xiang could see the ruthless look in their eyes. It was directed at Mu Jialan. Mu Jialan had also noticed it, but she still had a smile on her face, obviously Wisconsin H.I+ing that the 2 men hated her. Yao Shumi frowned slightly when he saw that his daughter wanted to make enemies with these 2 men. You youngsters, can't you help me relax a little? If it wasn't for my father's sake, I really don't want to come. Before, he had even planned to pursue Mu Jialan, but he didn't expect that Mu Jialan would scold him in such a way. which made him angry in his heart. Exactly. Don't think that you can strut around as long as you are in charge of Tion's position of power in Heaven Realm. You guys are only SOSO here. Don't think that you're still acting like you're in charge of Tion. The other azure-dressed man said coldly. Yao Shumi was furious and shouted, "You don't want to follow me, you can go back now. If not for you, I, Yao Shumi, would still be able to accomplish the task. Before this, I did not want you to come. You have not even said the first round of my examinations." Chen Xiang watched the show from the side, and the scene allowed him to see the situation that Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan were in the Peach Blossom Sky Kingdom. It could be said that it was normal, but one part of the reason was because they had accomplished a great merit in the Emperor Sky Realm, so it gave them some convenience. However, from the words of the two men, the beautiful mother and daughter pair were merely vases in the Peach Blossom Sky Kingdom. It was also because of this that made Yao Shumi angry. When Mu Jialan saw Yao Shumi scolding her, he stuck out his tongue and laughed softly. "Mother, don't be angry. These two fellows are useless at all. Not only did they come here without proper business, they eat and play merrily all day long, and even brought a group of their bad friends. They always have something to do with me." Yao Shumi said to Chen Xiang, "I have let you down. We will proceed with the next round of examination. If you can pass, the rewards in the future will definitely be very generous, and the two fellows just now can all be given to you. From what you can see, the strength that you have displayed is much better than those two guys. It's enough to have one henchman. Mother is so awesome too. One or two. What's there to be afraid of?" Mu Jialan smiled sweetly. "Then madam, please get ready. I am going to make my move," Chen Xiang said. Mu Jialan retreated to the door, her beautiful eyes flashing. She seemed to be studying seriously. "Attack me 3 times. As long as you can touch me with these 3 moves, including my clothes, even if I can pass, I will only dodge. I won't retaliate, nor will I block." Yao Shumi and Chen Xiang stood at a distance, and made a gesture that indicated that Chen Xiang could make his move. "Watch my palm." Suddenly, he disappeared. He did not use a spatial teleportation, it was purely his footsteps. He modified it using the shrinking step, so no one could see him. But in Mu Jialan's eyes, his footsteps were extremely strange, as if he was riding on lightning ing back and forth. When he made his move, Chen Xiang had even reminded Yao Shumi, and when Yao Shumi saw this strange yet incomparably quick movement technique, she was greatly shocked. Not giving her time to think, Chen Xiang had already arrived behind her back and smashed his palm towards her. Yao Shumi's movement technique was also not bad. Chen Xiang had seen it firsthand, but it was all in his hands, and when Yao Shumi dodged, he seemed to know Yao Shumi's thoughts, and immediately appeared at the place where Yao Shumi had landed after dodging, beside Yao Shumi. He had already slapped his palm towards Yao Shumi, just in time to push him to the side of the beautiful woman's proud mountain range. "Ah!" Yao Shumi cried out. Just now, she felt that her twin peaks, which had not been touched by a man for who knows how many years, had been rubbed by someone just now. Chen Xiang felt that he had touched on an incredible thing, and anxiously retreated, explaining, "It was not intentional." Chen Xiang felt that he had touched on an incredible thing, and anxiously retreated, explaining, "It was not intentional." Yao Shumi blushed red. In the previous tests, she had already suffered a small loss due to Chen Xiang, but she didn't expect to suffer a huge loss this time. Mu Jialan's face was filled with astonishment, and he did not know what to say, because Chen Xiang did not do it on purpose just now. That must have been intentional. Yao Shumi coldly snorted in her heart. She really wanted to fight with this person in front of her. Of course, she blushed when she saw Chen Xiang. She could not attack him, as the person in front of her had good strength. If he was not a little hoodlum, then he was a perfect candidate in her eyes. Let's continue. Yao Shumi's expression recovered its calmness, and said solemnly. Chen Xiang was more careful this time. His footsteps were not strange, but his speed was even faster. It was just that he did not dare to use his hands to attack, and only used his leg to sweep below Yao Shumi's knee. Yao Shumi was also wary of Chen Xiang now, and was worried that he would be eaten by her again, so she kept her guard up against him. However, she didn't expect that Chen Xiang would only hit her lower body this time, and while she was dodging, Chen Xiang's foot would still gently slide across her long skirt. From the third strike, Chen Xiang had still only targeted Yao Shumi's knee area. Yao Shumi had also already noticed this. From the moment Chen Xiang had flashed towards her, she had already seen it in his eyes. It only hit Chen Xiang's knee for a second, in order to prevent embarrassment and misunderstanding when touching a place that should not be touched again. Both Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan understood this point, so they secretly praised Chen Xiang's character. Yao Shumi tried his best to dodge, but he still couldn't understand why Chen Xiang's leg still hit her leg. Chen Xiang's speed and movement skills were both higher than hers. Yu Pa said. Although Yao Shumi said it this way, he was still a little unconvinced in his heart. Everyone had a compet. 1. Tive spirit. Furthermore, she was defeated by a young man whose cultivation was much lower than hers. In Yao Shumi's heart, she thought that adding on the 3 previous times, he had already lost 6 times in a row. You can follow us to the Qinyun realm. As for what you're going to do, you'll find out when you get there. Yao Shumi said. As for the danger, there definitely is. It's fine if you want to withdraw right now. Chen Xiang thought for a while, then asked. If you finish what you need at Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace, can you bring me to another Immortal Palace? I don't want to stay here. That's fine. Maybe you'll have to follow us everywhere during this period of time, and be transported to other Immortal Palaces. Yao Shumi knew that the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace was located in a relatively remote location in the Heaven Realm, very far from the other Immortal Palaces. Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan led Chen Xiang to the entrance of the Heaven Realm, and helped Chen Xiang get a pass at the entrance. They already had it a long time ago, so Chen Xiang did not know why they had so many spiritual crystals to use. He had finally entered the heavenly region. No matter what aspect it was more luxurious than the outside world. The streets were paved with a kind of extremely beautiful jade brick with some engravings on it. There was no need to even mention the shops on both sides. The decorations on the outside were extremely luxurious, and the interior was even more luxurious. Of course, everything here was expensive. Even if it's the Dan King's, it would still be difficult to survive in this kind of place. They are basically burning spiritual crystal here. Chen Xiang followed behind Yao Shumi, looking left and right, as though he was a country bumpkin. The majority of the people inside were very strong and rich. One could tell from their clothes that Long Shui had already pointed out what beast skins some of them wore and what kind of celestial silk they were wearing. Mu Jialan and Yao Shumi could be considered more outstanding beauties. Furthermore, they were walking together with 2 of them, making them look like a pair of beautiful sisters. This, coupled with the existence of a bumpkin that was incompatible with the heaven realm behind them, caused them to attract many gazes along the way. The place Yao Shumi and the others were staying at was very good. It was a quiet courtyard house. This house isn't cheap, right? The moment Chen Xiang entered, he saw the multicolored fragrant flowers in the courtyard, and when he saw the elegant little house, he immediately exclaimed in admiration. 1,000 spiritual crystals a day isn't too expensive, but there are only 2 rooms here. Before, Lana and I had a room each, but now I'll give one to you. Lana and I will live together, Yao Shumi said. On the way, she had already asked for Chen Xiang's name, but she didn't ask for anything else. Chen Xiang had told her a fake name, Yang Yu. Right now, they were sitting in the courtyard. Madam, did you guys ascend from Dtian? You guys should be very famous in Dtian, right? Chen Xiang deliberately asked. Oh, my name is Yao Shumi, I'm. Knowing that Chen Xiang was also flying up, Yao Shumi was a bit surprised. I've heard a lot about her. She should be the Peach Blossom Heaven Lady. I didn't expect her to be you and your daughter. I should have thought of that long ago. Chen Xiang purposely revealed a look of respect. Little Yang, then you should have heard of Chen Xiang. How is he now? Has he ascended yet? But come to think of it, your luck isn't that bad. You actually didn't appear in the palace. Mu Jialan asked excitedly, his face full of expectation for Chen Xiang to answer her question. Chen Xiang shot a glance at Yao Shumi. He realized that Yao Shumi also seemed to be interested to know something about him. He never thought that this mother and daughter pair would actually be so concerned about him. Oh, are you one of his wives, so concerned about him? Since Chen Xiang purposely said that, of course he could answer Mu Jialan's previous question. He was Chen Xiang. Mu Jialan stuck out her tongue, supporting her cheek with one hand. She said, "Of course not, but his woman and I have a good relations. Hi+P, after getting along with each other for a while, we can be considered good friend." Chen Xiang asked again, "Then you really admire him?" Mu Jialan immediately nodded. Of course, to be able to chase away the great emperor, who has 2 dragon veins, and to be able to go against many Tong Tian aristocratic family and sage realm cultivators earlier, while not being afraid of the chaotic mountain in the sacred Dan realm. Mu Jialan listed a bunch of Chen Xiang's achievements, and some of them were things that Chen Xiang did not remember, so he felt that there must be some people making him up. However, Chen Xiang still corrected him a little, and said, he only had 1 dragon vein. Chen Martial continent was suddenly suppressed by a very big mountain, thus the entire Devil continent was destroyed. Oh, then did he ascend? Yao Shumi asked. There was no news of him decades ago. He should have ascended long ago. Chen Xiang did not want to reveal his ident. 1. Tai right now. In this heaven realm, there was a large handful of fellows who were stronger than him. Until now, Chen Xiang still did not know what dangerous things this Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan were trying to do. He had tried to sound out their conversation, but they didn't say anything. Until now, Chen Xiang still did not know what dangerous things this Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan were trying to do. He had tried to sound out their conversation, but they didn't say anything. Looks like the person we're waiting for won't be coming today. Yao Shumi looked at the sky and said, "Then I'll go out and buy something. What do you want to eat?" Mu Jialan looked at Chen Xiang. She was extremely polite to him. "Just eat some immortal beast meat." Chen Xiang had originally only said that casually, but Mu Jialan nodded and then left. "Little Yang, it's still too late for you to leave now. We won't take that month's pass. And what you need to do with us is indeed quite dangerous. You just came to the heaven realm, it's not easy to ascend," Yao Shumi said after hesitating for a while. Chen Xiang shook his head. "Don't worry about me, why don't you guys use some spiritual crystals to invite a stronger ranker?" Yao Shumi sighed. "I will soon be able to become a immortal monarch. At the worldly immortal stage, my strength can be considered stronger. If I were to invite more people, then I will become a immortal monarch level person, which requires a lot of spiritual crystal. An immortal monarch may not be able to do it." "Then what is it?" Chen Xiang's heart itched. "I'm not sure for now. The main thing is that we need to grab something. After we catch it, we might be hunted down, and as for whether or not there would be a immortal monarch, that's what I'm worried about," Yao Shumi said in a low voice. And Xue Xianxian had interacted with the mother and daughter before, and that was when they were at Sacred Dan Realm. They had a good impression of this pair of beautiful mother and daughter, but when their group met with danger, Yao Shumi had done his best to protect them. If he could help them, Chen Xiang would definitely do his best to help them. Moreover, he could tell that this mother and daughter pair was probably going to face a huge crisis soon. When night fell, Mu Jialan gave Chen Xiang some decent clothes, because he would be with them for a period of time. Hurry up and put it on. Mu Jialan laughed. Let's eat first. Chen Xiang looked at the large chunks of grilled beast meat on the table, which was covered with some fragrant seasoning. Chen Xiang very impolitely ate a lot of meat, then went to take a bath and change into the clothes Mu Jialan had given him. Although he currently had a very ordinary appearance, he had changed into a set of luxurious golden clothes, giving him a very human-like appearance. At the very least, he wasn't as rustic as he was before. Not bad, don't rot it. Mu Jialan nodded his head in satisfaction. Deep into the night, Chen Xiang stayed in her room, but she was not at ease. Long Shui was also staring at the surroundings of the small house, because the mother and daughter should be in danger right now. They didn't sleep. Their eyes were open. They didn't speak. Long Shui said, "Once they speak, if they have anything important to say, pass it on to me." Chen Xiang said. Long Shui said again. Mu Jialan spoke, "Listen." Through the secret technique that Long Shui used to turn his voice around, Chen Xiang could clearly hear Mu Jialan's voice. Didn't Little Yang say that Chen Xiang has already ascended for many years, but why is there no news at all? Yao Shumi said, "If I were Chen Xiang, I would also be raising my strength in a very low profile. If he had any news about it, this heaven realm would have already exploded. I really hope to see him soon, maybe we can." Before Mu Jialan could finish speaking, Long Shui shouted, "Someone is approaching this place." Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan also sensed it, and immediately got off the bed and went into the courtyard. When Chen Xiang executed the divine traveling technique, 3 black-clothed men appeared in the courtyard. At first, Long Shui had only just noticed when he arrived, not to mention that this was the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace's domain, which was filled with experts. "You only have 2 months left, you must capture that pair of Holy Spirit rabbit, otherwise you will definitely die," one of the men in black said, sounding like a woman. "Got it." Yao Shumi said coldly, "You should at least give us some clues. Back then, it was your Peach Blossom Immortal Country's Immortal King who obtained it. He arranged for a person to bring it here and sell it to the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace's palace master, and that Immortal King eventually gave a mysterious person to him. That mysterious person should very likely be the Heavenly God Blade Palace's palace master, and currently, her maid is responsible for raising him." The man in black said. Chen Xiang already knew what he was going to do next. After the 3 black-clothed men left, Chen Xiang told what he had heard to Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu. The Holy Spirit Rabbit actually appeared. Haha, it's the matter of those 2 BITC. He's stealing the rabbit again. I wonder how many idiotic men would fall for their trap. Su Meiyao laughed, but it was filled with ruthlessness. Chen Xiang and Long Shui were a little shocked, and immediately asked, "Sister Meiyao, could it be that those 2 BASTARDS who want to steal the rabbit are people who have tortured you two to such an extent?" "It's not them, but they are also one of our enemies. They had cheated us before, and they seem to be related to our greatest enemy." Su Meiyao said. "What happened to the Holy Spirit Rabbit?" Chen Xiang asked. "That must be something extraordinary." "Holy Spirit Rabbit is a holy beast," Long Shui said. "It is merely a holy beast that is the weakest, and has no offensive power. But this Holy Spirit Rabbit has a very heaven-defying ability, which is, by eating the spiritual crystal and condensing a lot of holy blood, it can condense a small bowl every day. After drinking this holy blood, the benefits are great. It can help us cultivate our body of heavenly sage even faster." Su Meiyao said. "That's right, but this Holy Spirit Rabbit also has another ability, which is to disappear at the same time every once in a while, and then reappear in the same place again. But all this time, only Snow Moon Immortal Palace and Frozen Moon Asgard have known how to find the Holy Spirit Rabbit, so every time the Holy Spirit rabbit disappeared, it would cause a struggle between the two immortal palaces. Chen Xiang said in surprise. Doesn't that mean that the two palace masters are very strong and drink this sacred blood all day long? Bai Yu replied. Of course, if not we wouldn't have suffered such a huge loss at their hands. They are indeed powerful immortal kings. Then why did she force Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan to steal the rabbit? Chen Xiang couldn't understand. Divine Saber Immortal Palace is not someone to be trifled with. If he knew that it was Shui Yu and Han Yue who stole it, Divine Saber Immortal Palace wouldn't care so much. He would immediately kill his way over. Of course, this is only if he has evidence. Su Meiyao said. Chen Xiang took a deep breath. Now he knew how dangerous the things Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan had done were. If Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan were to be discovered, Divine Saber Immortal Palace wouldn't be much either. Peach Blossom Immortal Country is made up of many immortal palaces, otherwise they wouldn't dare to be called Immortal Country. I didn't think that these Tong Tian aristocratic family and Xing domain would have such rallying powers in Heaven Realm. Su Meiyao explained. The powers above Heaven Realm are all huge beings. Any immortal palace has a lot of power. The powers above Heaven Realm are all huge beings. Any immortal palace has a lot of power. This Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan are really unlucky to be forced to do such a thing. Whether they succeed or not, the consequences will be dire. Su Meiyao said. They are all from the Peach Blossom Immortal Country, and the jade rabbits were sold there from the Peach Blossom Immortal Country, that's why they were chosen. If they were to successfully steal them from the Divine Saber Immortal Palace, I think they would definitely be found out. Bai Yu said. They are women. It is easy to get close to them, but what do they want me to do? Chen Xiang could not understand why Yao Shumi and the others wanted to invite an outsider to partake. 1p8 in this matter. At this time, Yao Shumi knocked on Chen Xiang's door and lightly shouted, Little Yang, are you asleep yet? Chen Xiang immediately stood up to open the door and asked, What's the matter? Yao Shumi said in a low voice, Follow me. She then brought Chen Xiang to their room. Mu Jialan had already set up a formation inside, and obviously wanted to say something very important, but these two women and the man were in the same room, making Chen Xiang feel a little uncomfortable. What we have to do is dangerous, and it's only 2 months away. Yao Shumi gestured for Chen Xiang to sit as he said seriously. Well, what is it? Although Chen Xiang and the others wanted to steal the jade rabbit, they didn't know what to do. Yao Shumi said in a deep voice, We need to steal 2 rabbits, but it's extremely difficult to enter that place, but we already have a way. When the time comes, you must cooperate with us. Chen Xiang nodded. I will do as you say. Mu Jialan's expression became very serious as well. It was obvious that they were under a lot of pressure right now. We will arrange the following matters for you. In the middle of the night, Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan brought Chen Xiang and walked on the luxurious street that was the color of red wine. Even though it was still in the middle of the night, the sky region was still bustling with noise. Chen Xiang followed this pair of beautiful mother and daughter flowers. After passing through a few streets, they arrived at the front door of a villa. Chen Xiang did not know what kind of villa this was, nor did he have a name. Yao Shumi walked to the door and lightly knocked. After waiting for a while, a middle-aged burly man opened the door and welcomed Yao Shumi and the others in. It was just that when Chen Xiang went in, he was scanned by a few strong streams of consciousness, but he did not discover anything strange about his body. There are several immortal monarchs, Long Shui said. No wonder why there weren't any guards here. There were a few immortal monarchs here. Perhaps only the immortal kings would dare to barge in. Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan took Chen Xiang around 7 and 8 turns in the villa, and in the end, arrived at a 3-storied building made out of white jade. There are 3 immortal monarchs inside. Long Shui said again. Knew that he had to be careful in a bit. After entering the white jade pavilion, Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan first made Chen Xiang sit in the hall to wait, while the chairs, floors, pillars, etc. everything was made of white jade. Not long after, a beautiful lady wearing a snow-white dress walked out. She looked pretty and cold, and when her eyes swept over, it gave off a cold feeling, as though she was 1,000 miles away from everyone else. Her entire body emitted a proud and aloof aura. She was actually an immortal monarch. So familiar. Could it be her? Bai Yu said in shock. It's that little girl. I didn't expect her to grow up to be so big. Su Meiyao giggled. Little scoundrel, the beauty in front of you is not a human, she's a flower demon formed from a 10,000-year snow lotus, the same as LV Qinlian. Chen Xiang asked, What's so funny, you know her? This little girl is very strong, and she is very good at dealing with men, especially those who are bad. It is said that if there is a man who is dishonest and wants to do something bad, she can feel it. Then, she can use one of her abilities to freeze that thing to death. Su Meiyao laughed. Chen Xiang now understood why Yao Shumi wanted to test him. So there was this layer of relations, Hi plus P between them. Bai Yu said, I thought she would be like junior sister, but I never thought that it won't be. Su Meiyao laughed and said, She is a snow lotus to begin with, so there's nothing bad about being with senior sister at a cold place like yours. I like women like senior sister very much. To think that this little girl Yu Xuelian would actually be the maid of the Divine Blade Palace mistress. However, for her to be able to raise a jade rabbit here, it seems that she has quite a high position in the Divine Saber Immortal Palace. Bai Yu said. At this moment, Yu Xuelian was staring at Chen Xiang. She could tell that Chen Xiang was distracted, but there were 3 beauties sitting in the hall, and it seemed like he did not see them. Little Yang, this is the Snow Lotus Demon Lord. She is one of the 10 great monarchs of the Divine Saber Immortal Palace. Yao Shumi said. Chen Xiang immediately bowed to Yu Xuelian. Yang Yu greets the Snow Lotus Demon Lord. Even though Yu Xuelian's face was ice-cold, she had a very good impression of Chen Xiang. She gently waved her hand and said, There's no need to be polite, please take a seat. There were only Chen Xiang and the 3 women in the hall. Chen Xiang took a sniff of the 3 different scents and suddenly felt that there was something indescribably wonderful about them. Big Sister Xuelua, my mother has already tested little Yang and Pa S. said all her tests. She hasn't failed a single time. Mu Jialan laughed. Oh, you really can't judge a book by its cover. Yu Xuelian nodded slightly. Chen Xiang was confused now. He felt that these 3 women were plotting something. Yu Xuelian had the support of the Divine Blade Palace mistress, and was in charge of taking care of the Jade Rabbit. On the other hand, Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan had been kidnapped by the Frigid Moon's Snow Moon Immortal Palace to steal Jade Rabbit, but from the looks of it, they seemed to be in the same group. Chen Xiang quickly thought that if they wanted to take all of that Jade Rabbit by themselves, they would have to pay the price of being hunted by the 3 palaces. Of course, Chen Xiang was not afraid, because no one knew that he was also involved, but he wanted a share of the spoils. We need to keep what we do a secret. If you are willing to swear a blood oath and don't leak it out, I can prepay you 100,000 spiritual crystal and give you 200,000 after we finish our business. Then we can part ways. Yu Xuelian said. These 300,000 spiritual crystal, to a rookie who had just entered the heaven realm, were a huge sum. However, Chen Xiang would not tell them that he had obtained a sacred animal fruit worth 200 spiritual crystal not long ago. All right. Chen Xiang immediately agreed, and then made a blood oath that he would definitely not leak the news of him cooperating with the 3 of them. Follow me. Yu Xuelian stood up and walked towards a door. Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan followed behind. Chen Xiang was the last one. He felt that the 3 women in front of him were really sick of living. They actually wanted to swallow the Jade Rabbit in private. Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan followed behind. Chen Xiang was the last one. He felt that the three women in front of him were really sick of living. They actually wanted to swallow the jade rabbit in private. Arriving at Yu Xuelian's room, there was a large jade plate placed on top of a jade table. Chen Xiang and the three ladies were surrounding the table, only to see a few images inside the jade plate, and 4 rabbits that were snow-white like jade and released a snow-white glow were running around in a stone room, and inside the stone room, there were 2 old women sitting with their eyes closed. There are actually 4 Holy Spirit rabbit. Chen Xiang was secretly shocked in his heart. These 2 old fellows are both from Immortal Monarch. Su Mei and I will think of ways to get rid of them, Yu Xuelian said directly, and then she gently touched the jade platform, causing the image to jump outside the stone room. It was a small courtyard, and there were over 10 beautiful women there, wearing very thin clothes, almost naked, but Chen Xiang was not moved at all. Lanner will be in charge of the women outside, and then the Pa's sage to the stone chamber. Yu Xuelian touched the jade plate again, but the surface was completely black. Soon after, an image appeared faintly. It was a naked woman with a plump body and jade-like skin. She could clearly see the beautiful things that could make one's blood boil. This woman is responsible for the Pa's sage. You only need to deal with her and use this to open the jade room array gate to raise the rabbit. Then, go in and put the 4 jade bunnies into the immortal beast bag. Yu Xuelian had given some things to Chen Xiang, so she was becoming more and more satisfied with him, because when Chen Xiang saw those charming and enchanting girls, as well as those alluring jade bodies, he was not moved at all. I'm coming out, Chen Xiang asked. Meet us here. I have a transmission array plate with the surname once, which will allow us to move far away from Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. Yu Xuelian said. Originally, we planned to make our move in a month or 2, but now the situation doesn't allow it. We will do our best to maintain your condition. Chen Xiang rubbed his nose and asked, Why don't you find a girl for this kind of thing? Girls are more convenient. Yu Xuelian said, No, because the person who opens the Jade Room's array door must be a man. Although I am a immortal monarch under the command of the Divine Blade Palace Master, he is still very wary of me. That's why he arranged this way. I cannot open the array door directly, but he still gave me this thing. Chen Xiang frowned and said, So that means he is purposely testing you, because other than you and those 2 old granny from the Immortal Monarch, no one else can open the array door. Yu Xuelian nodded. That's right, after we obtain the Jade Rabbit, we will leave this place, and they will probably go to the Snow Moon Immortal Palace to report back. We can't have one each. Although I don't know what kind of rabbit this is, it must be very powerful. Chen Xiang said. No, if this Jade Rabbit Blood Man is used, he will only. Actually, a lot of people did not know that the palace masters of the Frigid Moon Immortal Palace and Snow Moon Immortal Palace were men. There are many women in these 2 immortal palaces, and they are very strong as well. Yu Xuelian's words stunned him. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu did not know either, but this was simply too shocking for them. Chen Xiang had to remember that he should never touch the women of the Snow Moon Immortal Palace and the Cold Moon Immortal Palace, and never even look at them. Now, he knew why this Holy Spirit rabbit was sold, and it turned out that men could not use it, unless they did not mind him becoming a woman. But I still want one, Chen Xiang said. He cannot use it, but his woman can. What are you doing here? If you sell this thing, it will only lead to a fatal disaster. It's very dangerous, and it will also be sensed by the Snow Moon Immortal Palace and the Hanyue Immortal Palace. Also, if the Jade Rabbit comes into contact with men for a long period of time, it will disappear on its own, so every so often the Shuiyu and the Hanyue Immortal Palace won't be able to protect it, even though they have become women. What Yu Xuelian said was the truth. She felt that giving it to Chen Xiang would only be a waste. Just give it to me, I really want it, Chen Xiang said. The questions that Yu Xuelian asked were all true. Mu Jialan looked at Chen Xiang strangely and suddenly laughed. Don't tell me you want to become a woman? Oh yes, You seem to have a strong restraining power towards women, could it be that? Hearing Mu Jialan's words, Yu Shuoyan and Yao Shumi could not help but laugh. No, I'll give one to my woman. In short, give me one. Chen Xiang said. Well, if you can do it, I don't mind giving you one. Although Yu Shuoyan looked cold, after interacting with her for a period of time, he felt that she was very amiable. Hearing that they had the chance to obtain Holy Spirit Rabbit, the three women in the ring became very excited, especially Long Shui. She had already said that she would give her all to help Chen Xiang when the time comes. Holy Spirit Rabbit blood could allow them to have a very strong physical body, so they were not looking forward to the torturous training that Chen Xiang did. Madam Yao, why are all of you being threatened? Why don't you go back and report back? Why don't you just take the Jade Rabbit and run away with the Snowy Lotus Lord? Chen Xiang asked. We'll talk about it when we get it. Yao Shumi sighed softly. Mentioning this matter also made her mood very bad. Go and rest, keep yourself in your best condition at any time. Yu Shuoyan said. Chen Xiang also stayed in the villa and stayed in the White Jade Pavilion. He realized that there were a few immortals in the pavilion, all of them in their advanced stages of cultivation. Daybreak, Chen Xiang had to follow Yu Shuoyan, and Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan were also by her side. But they couldn't fight today, because when Yu Shuoyan saw him, she had already shook her head at him. In the hall, Chen Xiang sat and ate some snacks and fruit juice. All these were expensive things to sell outside, but while eating, he quietly gave some to the three girls inside the ring, because these were all considered to be good food within the heaven realm, although it was not really effective, but it was very refresh. Hi+ing. Snow Lotus Immortal Monarch. This is the invitation from the Heavenly Cow Palace's leader. A man handed over the invitation letter to Yu Shuoyan. After Yu Shuoyan finished reading, he said, I will go. Chen Xiang realized that Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan had a good relations, Hi+P with him, and he didn't know how they developed such a relations, Hi+P to scheme against him. Snowy, why are we inviting you over? Yao Shumi asked. To partic. 1P8 in the Pill Observation Meeting. Several Dan Immortal have come. Yu Shuoyan said. After saying that, both Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan understood, but Chen Xiang did not. He asked, What is the Pill Observation Assembly? Mu Jialan explained. It's because this Dan Immortal will be refining some pills on the spot, showing their pill refining level, and then, various powers will bid, fighting over the power of these Dan Immortals. It's equivalent to hiring these Dan Immortals. Mu Jialan explained. It's because this Dan Immortal will be refining some pills on the spot, showing their pill refining level, and then, various powers will bid, fighting over the power of these Dan Immortals. It's equivalent to hiring these Dan Immortals. Chen Xiang suddenly realized and laughed. I thought I was going to watch a monkey play in Dan Immortal. Mu Jialan chuckled. Dan Immortal has a very high status, although many large powers have Dan Immortals. Those Dan Immortals are very arrogant, and do their own things most of the time, so when there are immortal medicines by their side, those Dan Immortals coincidentally have no time, or have temporarily disappeared, and can only hire other Dan Immortals to temporarily hold on. Yu Shuoyan said. If it's a very large immortal country, then the Dan Immortal inside will be different. Those Dan Immortal will be more obedient because they need a large amount of high-level pills to support a single immortal country, and they will usually have to take care of the immortal medicines. When the time comes, we will watch together. Maybe we will even meet those Dan Immortals who are auctioning pellets here. It was in the afternoon, so Chen Xiang was a little excited. Because when the time came, many people with status in the Heavenly Bull region would gather, and there would definitely be a lot of strong prac. 1. Tioniers and even palace masters would come. Inside the Grand Palace in the center of the Heavenly region, Chen Xiang, Yu Shuoyan and the other two absolute beauties took a car and left. When they got off the car, many of them were jealous that he was with the three girls. even though he was just a follower. Inside the palace, Chen Xiang got off the carriage and followed behind Yu Xuelian. At the same time, he looked at the strength of the people around him. They were all powerful. There were more than 10 in the immortal monarch, and the late period of human immortal were the most. The strength of the late period of human immortal was considered not bad in the heaven realm because after the nirvana stage, every increase in realm would be very difficult. Therefore, although there were many people in the heaven realm, the number of immortal monarchs was still very few. I saw someone I know, Chen Xiang said in a low voice. How unlucky. Mu Jialan let out a light snort, because the people Chen Xiang spoke of were the 2 young men from before, the guards of whatever peach blossom immortal country. What surprised Chen Xiang wasn't only these 2 familiar people, but also someone he was even more familiar with, W.A.N. Ji Qiangjin. It's that old woman again, why is she here? Chen Xiang saw W.A.N. Ji Qiangjin as if he was surrounded by stars surrounding the moon, accompanied by a large group of people. There were a few immortal monarch among them. As they walked along the road, no one dared to stand in front of them. They knew that such a character was following them from behind, and those in front all stepped aside, making way for them. They didn't dare to follow behind them until they saw them enter the Heavenly Ox Immortal Palace. Fire Divine Palace is like that, but it's just like that, isn't it? That W.A.N. Ji Qiangjin also had to return with his tail between his legs? I really don't understand. They have 3 immortal kings and there are quite a few immortal monarchs. In that world where their overall strength is so low, unexpectedly one of them died and still ran back like a stray dog. Yu Xuelian whispered. Chen Xiang was secretly pleased with himself, because this had a lot to do with him. The dead immortal king was killed by him. This is all because they are too arrogant. Not only them, those heavenly immortal countries and heavenly saints have all suffered losses because of this. If one day Di Tian grows up, those people must be very strong. Yao Shumi said. She had come up from there, so she knew this the best. Yu Xuelian nodded. I know, it's all because of a little kid called Chen Xiang, right? This person has a green dragon demon-slain broadsword. It was crafted by the ancestor of the Divine Saber Immortal Palace, the Divine Blacksmith. Divine Saber Immortal Palace has always been thinking of ways to find this person and take back the Divine Blade. Dream on. Chen Xiang sneered in his heart. If he was P.I.S. set off, he would take the hammer of G.O.D. and smash the Divine Saber Immortal Palace to death. Upon entering the Sky Cow Immortal Palace, the interior was very spacious. In the middle of the hall was a huge patio, and upon walking up the stairs, one would be able to stand in the corridor and look down. The open space below the patio would be where the Dan Immortal would display their skills in pill refining. Yu Xuelian brought Chen Xiang and the others to a place on the 3rd floor. Most of the people here were immortal monarchs, but they did not greet Yu Xuelian. This way was also good. There were many less things to do. Chen Xiang laid on the fence as he looked at the few pag-o-de-shaped pill furnaces. They were all of excellent quality, and were all top-grade immortal equipment. The people from the devil-suppressing Divine Palace are here. Is the attraction of the soul-absorbing devil spell so great? A person called out in a low voice. Chen Xiang immediately looked towards the door, only to see a group of people dressed in gold, their bodies glowing with a holy gold light. When they entered, their aura was much more powerful than Fire Divine Palaces, although there were not many people. W.A.N. Ji Qiangjin was at the fence on the 2nd floor, and when she saw the people from devil-suppressing Divine Palace coming, her face turned ugly. It was because she was a demon king, and she hated the kind of power the devil-suppressing Divine Palace had to restrain her. The devil-suppressing Divine Palace was also very strong in the heaven realm. They had their own rankings. Although many years had passed since the internal struggle for power, the overall strength of the devil-suppressing Divine Palace was not weakened at all. Someone said, that if the holy devil-suppressing seal could return, the devil-suppressing divine palace would definitely become the strongest power. Of course, Chen Xiang wouldn't foolishly take the holy devil-suppressing seal to the devil-suppressing divine palace to shout and fight for the position of palace master. Yu Xuelian could feel the aura of the people from the devil-suppressing divine palace, and her long, shapely eyebrows frowned. She was a demon, and she also hated this aura. I wonder if it's been restrained for a bit, since the demon dwellers from Heaven Realm are living together harmoniously. Yu Xuelian snorted lightly. After a while, more and more people arrived. At this time, the palace mistress of Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace went up on stage and entered the Immortal Palace with the other Dan Immortal. However, he never thought that it would actually be a handsome young man who seemed to have released his aura. However, this was a genuine immortal king, being able to control such a huge immortal palace and set strict rules so that no one would be able to destroy it. It was definitely not easy. To be honest, it's been a while since Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace was this lively. The reason why it's so lively and gathered so many people is because of a single devil art, so we should take this opportunity to invite a few Dan Immortals to help our friends who plan to stay for a long time get a better chance. The Palace Lord of the Sky Cow said gently with a smile on his face. The soul-absorbing devil spell really did have a lot of magic power. Although many righteous people were cursing this devil art, they wanted to learn it very much because if one was very strong, they could use the soul-absorbing devil spell to search other people's memories and take over other people's memories, becoming a part of them. This was just a powerful part of it. Most of the rankers here had confirmed that the soul-absorbing devil spell had appeared before, because they had all seen the Tengu that Chen Xiang had used to cast the soul-dispersing curse. That dog was still here, and people often went to check it out. Most of the rankers here had confirmed that the soul-absorbing devil spell had appeared before, because they had all seen the Tengu that Chen Xiang had used to cast the soul-dispersing curse. That dog was still here, and people often went to check it out. Although there were currently no clues, many experts would continue to search for this cultivation technique. Most of them were worried about wasting time, and in the past, when Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu's master searched for some powerful cultivation techniques, it was not surprising for them to search for it for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. But Chen Xiang was also suspicious. Maybe this group of people were here for the Holy Spirit Rabbit, anything that could help people cultivate body of heavenly sage. Its attraction was no less than the soul-absorbing devil spell. These Dan Immortal are all famous. I will introduce them one by one. Let's see how they compete in pill refining now. After he finished speaking, he stood to the side and let the 5 Dan Immortals display their skills. Chen Xiang did not recognize these Dan Immortals, but Su Meiyao did not either, so they should be people from the younger generation. From the fire energy that was seeping out of their bodies, Chen Xiang was sure that these Dan Immortals all had fire souls. However, he felt that Su Meiyao was even more powerful, because Su Meiyao didn't have a fire soul. She was also so powerful in terms of alchemy, which meant that her achievements in the area of alchemy were extremely high. Next, the 5 of them will compete to refine the longevity pill. This immediately led to whispers amongst the onlookers. This life-extending Dan bead is a low-grade heaven-level pill. If you take one, you can extend your life by at least 2 years, and up to a few decades, depending on the person who consumed the pill, but taking one won't have any effect. Su Meiyao said. Of the low-grade heaven levels pills, there were more people who wanted to buy them. Chen Xiang also planned to get some medicinal ingredients to cultivate in the future. How much is this longevity pill? Chen Xiang asked Yu Xuelian. 1 pellet of 10,000 spiritual crystal is higher than many low-grade heaven-level pills. Yu Xuelian said. The difficulty in refining is not great, it's mainly because of the difficulty in cultivating the ingredients, which is why it's so useful in prolonging life, thus it's sold at this price. Many people would risk their lives to earn this buying this kind of pill to extend life is very easy to sell. Chen Xiang nodded his head and asked, "Are all these Dan immortal famous?" Yao Shumi replied, "Of course there are, they are all second-grade Dan immortals, and can refine second-grade immortal pills. Usually, only these Dan immortal would have some reputation." The immortal pills were from 1 to 9, and it was the same for Dan immortal. The Du Hai that Chen Xiang knew in sacred Dan realm was a third-grade Dan immortal. Dan immortals compet. 1. Tie-in to refine pills was not about refining immortal pills, because it would take a long time, and immortal medicine ingredients were rare. Making refining pills in this kind of environment was easy. The gains would not make up for the losses, so they could only compete to concoct low-grade heaven-level pills. Even if they were to refine a low-grade heaven-level pill, it would still take some time. When Chen Xiang saw that they were using the foreseeing alchemy, he knew that it would take at least a day. "Isn't it too boring to just observe the pill like that? How about we place a bet?" The speaker was an old man on the second floor. However, there was no one beside the old man, but other places were packed with people. It could be seen that no one dared to approach this old man. Venomous Lord White-Browed Sovereign, this guy always likes to cause trouble. Yu Xuelian snorted. This old man only looked like he had a few wrinkles on his face and was hunched over. However, his hair was black, his eyebrows were snow-white, and his hair was long and hanging down. Right now, he looked harmless with his smile, but he was a poison master. No wonder no one dared to approach him. Wang Qiangjin said, "I am afraid that you cannot afford it. I will bet on my Fire Divine Palace's Elder Rui's victory. If I win all the partic, 1. P. Ants will have to give me 1,000,000 spiritual crystal. If you lose, I will give you 1,000,000 spiritual crystal." The venomous master was obviously not afraid of Wang Qiangjin, the demon king, as he laughed. "1,000,000 spiritual crystal, this is too little, isn't it?" Chen Xiang immediately recognized him. The pill refining furnace was 2 people tall, and it looked like a small, fiery red pag. Oda. Furthermore, the fire energy that was being released from his body was gentle and strong, giving people a feeling that he was very strong. At this time, many people were partic. 1 P. aiding, thinking that Elder Ray would not get first place. Although the Fire Divine Palace's alchemy industry was one of the stronger existence in the heaven realm, in the compet. 1. Tie-in between Elder Ray and the 4 Dan Immortal, the chances of winning were not high. This Fire Divine Palace is really confident. There are already more than 60 people partic. 1 P. aiding, if I were to lose, I would have to lose 60 million spiritual crystal. Yao Shumi said. Although she also had a few spiritual crystals by her side, they were still far from enough. Seeing that Yu Xuelian and Yao Shumi did not have any intentions to join, Chen Xiang knew that they were extremely cautious and did not have any interest in such things. Long Xue shouted, "Hurry up and get you to partic." 1 P8. Elder Rui's pill furnace is too broken. I can go in and cause trouble. Chen Xiang said, "You have the confidence. What will you do if you are discovered? What if it fails? I don't have 1,000,000 spiritual crystal on me." Long Xue scoffed, "You idiot, can't you bet 1,000,000 on it? If there isn't 1,000,000 spiritual crystal, and you want to borrow them from the 2 women by your side, then whatever you do for them in the future, it will bring them more than just 1,000,000 spiritual crystal. Furthermore, you will have to risk your life and be hunted down." Chen Xiang immediately shouted out, saying that he wanted to bet, and he was immediately stared at by Wang Qiangjin. If not for the fact that he could appear in this place, others would think that he could not afford it. Long Xue laughed, "Let's wait and take the spiritual crystal." Yao Shumi and Yu Xuelian were a little surprised. They did not expect this fellow to be so wealthy, to dare to play like this. Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan both knew what kind of person this little Yang was. Back when they were outside the heavenly region, he had a very destination toot look, and he had just flown up and actually had 1,000,000 spiritual crystal. You used to be so rich. Mu Jialan rolled his eyes at him. I don't have any hair on my head right now, but that guy will definitely lose. Chen Xiang laughed. If you lose and you can't afford it, just wait for Fire Divine Palace to come and slaughter you. Mu Jialan said snappily. Chen Xiang chuckled. You guys aren't going to just watch me get slaughtered, right? Isn't it just 1,000,000 spiritual crystal? You guys can definitely afford it. Yao Shumi glanced at him sideways. Xiao Yang, I didn't expect you to be such a gambler, this isn't a good thing. When Chen Xiang wanted to gamble, most people had a high chance of winning. For example, right now, Long Shui was making his move in the dark. Now that I have reached the realm of limitless divine powers, I can secretly modify the formation patterns inside the broken pill furnace to make the time inside change. This way, the pill condensation process will be slower than others and won't be noticed by others. Long Shui laughed. Since he's so incredible, wouldn't it mean that if I bet pills with him in the future, I would definitely win? Chen Xiang said excitedly. Since he's so incredible, wouldn't it mean that if I bet pills with him in the future, I would definitely win? Chen Xiang said excitedly. Of course not, the main thing is that this pill furnace is too broken, it can let other people's spirits sense in easily, and the ancient runes inside are also coincidentally familiar to me. If it's your Yanlong furnace, if I did anything to it, it would definitely be discovered. Long Shui's words destroyed the wretched idea that Chen Xiang had won all over the world. Most of the people who dared to place their bets just now had some power and status, but Chen Xiang had also come to join in the fun, and obviously wanted to earn Ji Qiangjin's spiritual crystal, which was why Ji Qiangjin glared at him. Chen Xiang was not afraid at all, he had already defeated Ji Qiangjin last time, so he was not afraid of winning a second time. The pill refining level of these 5 Dan Immortals were all pretty good, they were all Dan Immortals that could refine immortal pills. Chen Xiang felt that even Li Baojun would be a distance away from them, but if Li Baojun grew up in the future, he would definitely not be bad either. After half a day, someone finally opened the pill furnace and took out 2 immortal pills. This Dan Immortal was the victor of this compet. 1. Tian, because even though there were 2 longevity dawn, his speed was much slower. He had concocted quite a number of longevity pills, and he was able to control his time very well. It was difficult for him to believe that such a result would occur, and he did not know the reason why. This was because he had performed very well, just like in the past. The Fire Divine Palace had actually lost. This meant that Ji Qiangjin had lost more than 60,000,000 spiritual crystal. Everyone was gloating in their hearts, some of them were even mocking Ji Qiangjin as a calamity. Many experts heard about her situation in Dtian, and it was extremely ugly. When Yu Xuelian saw Chen Xiang's smiling face, she sighed in her heart at his good luck. She said, I'll accompany you to pick up the spiritual crystal. Although Yu Xuelian was only a demon lord, she was still a capable subordinate of the Divine Blade Palace Master, so her status was still very high. At this moment, as she was walking on the road, a lot of people were making way for her. Give my regards to old Divine Blade for me. Ji Qiangjin said as he gave Yu Xuelian a storage bag. Yes. Yu Xuelian answered as he brought Chen Xiang up to the 3rd floor. When they went there earlier, Chen Xiang was secretly shocked, because Ji Qiangjin had used his powerful consciousness to carefully check out his strength. Fortunately he had concealed himself well, otherwise, it would have been difficult for him to escape the Immortal Palace. Ji Qiangjin was on the 2nd floor, but when he arrived at the 3rd floor, the place they were standing a moment ago, he handed the spiritual crystal over to Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang accepted it and expressed his thanks. He was very happy that he could earn such a sum of spiritual crystal with no effort at all. But Fire Divine Palace did not partake. 1p8 as he was obviously here to watch the show. Originally, he thought that he could obtain first place to show off, but who knew that he would lose, and even caused G Cheongjin to lose over 60 million spiritual crystal. Everyone secretly hoped that this venomous old man whom everyone hated so much would disappear in the future when G Cheongjin set his eyes on the white-browed poison monarch. Of course, there were also some people who were grateful to him, otherwise they wouldn't have earned so many spiritual crystal. 5 million spiritual crystal a year, and they even gave me some medicinal ingredients. Chen Xiang exclaimed, but that Dan Immortal didn't agree with his conditions. Without 10 million spiritual crystal for a year, don't even think about recruiting a second stage Dan Immortal. Yu Xuelian said with envy in his eyes. Although there were a few second-grade alchemists in Heaven Realm, but compared to the population of the entire Heaven Realm, they were considered to be very few. Yao Shumi and Mu Jialan were also the same. They were extremely envious of these Dan Immortals' generous treatment. Chen Xiang wasn't envious because he was an alchemist to begin with. Right now, he only lacked the time to grow up, otherwise, he would definitely become a powerful Dan Immortal in the future. They are all just lackeys. Refining a low-grade heaven-level pill is so slow. Chen Xiang muttered softly. He was qualified to say so, because the speed at which he used the G.O.D. purification to refine Hunyuan Dan was extremely fast. If he turned himself into an old man, who could refine a furnace of Hunyuan Dan that could emit the light of a pill on the spot, it would definitely cause many people to mistake him as a high-level Dan Immortal. After Yu Xuelian heard it, he said, "This is considered fast. If it was someone who had just become a Dan Immortal, refining it for a longer time, and if I was a person in charge of a force, I would definitely recruit him first." Yao Shumi nodded his head. The current ingredients can be quickly grown through great formations, and many of the ingredients are extremely cheap. If there's a friend from the Dan Immortal who bought some for him to refine, then there's no need to use too many spiritual crystal. At this time, Yu Xuelian gave Chen Xiang and the others a meaningful glance, then walked towards the stairs. Yu Xuelian sent a sound transmission to her in his mind. It's time to start. Right now, many experts from the Sky region are gathered here. Even if something were to happen at that villa, they won't be able to make it in time. Chen Xiang was secretly excited. He was going to obtain the Holy Spirit Rabbit soon, although it could not be used for himself, but it was indeed a good thing. The reason why Yu Xuelian came here was to see what kind of experts were gathered in the heavenly realm. After returning to the manor, it was already late at night. Yu Xuelian and Yao Shumi were the first to move. They entered the secret stone room and lured the immortal monarch out, and upon hearing the sounds of fighting, Mu Jialan and Chen Xiang moved. Chen Xiang never thought that Yu Xuelian and Yao Shumi would clash with the immortal monarch. This was not a good thing, because such a situation would very soon attract the strong warriors from the heaven realm. This meant that they had to hurry, otherwise they would be in danger. Arriving at the place where they had entered the stone room, they saw a courtyard and saw over a dozen beautiful women wearing thin clothes. When Mu Jialan and Chen Xiang arrived, the beautiful women immediately rushed over. "Go quickly, leave this to me." Mu Jialan's body suddenly released a pink light, 2 slender sharp swords appeared, she waved both swords, the afterimages of the swords became violent, like stormy waves. She never thought that the kind and gentle she could actually have such strong sword skills. Chen Xiang had already entered the tunnel. Originally, it was pitch black, but the moment he entered, it immediately lit up, and then a woman with loose hair and a cape, who was completely naked, stood in front of him. That jade body emitted a moist glow. This woman was very beautiful, very bewitching. If it was a man with poor self-control, seeing such a beauty sitting in front of him with some very large movements would definitely cause his blood to swell. However, Chen Xiang was more concerned with this woman's strength. She was actually very strong. Chen Xiang was startled when he saw her. She then walked in with a charming smile on her face, and with every step she took, she made an extremely alluring pose. Chen Xiang was startled when he saw her. She then walked in with a charming smile on her face, and with every step she took, she made an extremely alluring pose. Just as he was about to reach Chen Xiang's dull eyes suddenly glowed with a bright light, and in a flash, he appeared in front of the lady. With one palm, he dispersed the force that had been gathered in the woman's body, and then with a few successive punches, his fist landed on her flesh, causing her to vomit blood. After hitting her flat on the ground a few times, Chen Xiang did not even bother looking at her, and rushed to the stone room, opening the door with what Yu Xuelian had given him. Opening the stone door, Chen Xiang came to a room made of white jade. It was the same room that he saw on Yu Xuelian's disc. "Be careful!" Long Xue suddenly shouted in shock. Chen Xiang had always been on guard. Sensing that danger was approaching, he hurriedly teleported out of the place. It was actually an old man wielding a spear and attacking him. From the look of the innate qi that was condensed on top of the long spear, this old man had the strength of an immortal monarch. Chen Xiang was shocked that there was actually a immortal monarch here, and he could tell that it had been hidden here since a long time ago. "Go catch Jade Rabbit, leave it to me," Long Xue shouted as he ran out from the ring. This was a very dangerous matter, and one must know that there were many immortal king-level fellows gathered in the heavenly realm. Although Long Xue appeared, he did not fight with the old man. Instead, he released many ropes that were formed from white light and tightly wrapped around the old man. The old man's face was filled with surprise, because he had used a lot of power but had been unable to break free. It could be seen that the masked woman was very strong, and this was a very powerful technique. Chen Xiang caught the 4 Holy Spirit Rabbit in the corner and placed them into a beast bag. It was said that this type of beast bag was specially made, and normal beast bags wouldn't be able to hold this Holy Spirit Rabbit. "It's a real Holy Spirit Rabbit. Is here, let's go," Bai Yu said. Long Xue also suddenly disappeared and entered into the ring, while the old man was still entangled by the white rope Long Xue released. Chen Xiang quickly left the stone room and went outside. He immediately sneaked an attack on the 10 over-spirit demon women who were fighting with Mu Jialan. "Quickly send a message to your mother and the others, I've succeeded," Chen Xiang anxiously said. Mu Jialan frowned and looked at the place where the light was flickering. His expression was gloomy. "I'm afraid we'll have to trouble them. They are fighting with the immortal monarch and might not be able to escape." Right at this moment, Chen Xiang and Mu Jialan could sense a large wave of strong qi approaching them. Without even thinking, they knew that it was the experts from the Heavenly Cow Immortal Palace coming over. "Let's go." Chen Xiang suddenly pulled Mu Jialan along, then used the spatial travel and shrinking steps coordination to rush towards the direction where Yu Xuelian and the others were battling. "This is..." She recognized that this was the shrinking step. Only Chen Xiang knew how to use it, and this was also the special footwork of the heaven-earth killing method. It was extremely powerful. Yao Shumi and Yu Xuelian's opponents were 2 old women with extremely strong bodies. What made Chen Xiang even more surprised was that Yao Shumi's late period of human immortal could actually take on one of the immortal monarchs, but it was very strenuous. Chen Xiang took out his death-haunting arrow, condensed it with his own strength, and shot an arrow towards the old lady who was fighting with Yao Shumi. It's extremely poisonous. The old lady did not expect that someone would plot against her. Chen Xiang's hidden arrows were powerful and silent. It was difficult to sense. Immediately after, Chen Xiang released a second arrow, allowing him to escape. "You killed them, yet you're using this poison?" an old woman roared. They were all trying to expel the poison, so they didn't dare to approach her. "Let's go." Yu Xuelian and Yao Shumi appeared beside Chen Xiang in a flash, grabbed them respectively, and then quickly ran in one direction. At this time, the group of experts was getting closer and closer. Chen Xiang was extremely nervous. What should we do? I'm afraid we're in trouble. Yao Shumi started to panic. Chen Xiang immediately took out ASHI plus New York Golden Pill and threw it towards the group of people chasing after him. Then he shouted, "Prepare to defend against the cold chi." The thing that Chen Xiang threw out was the Destruction Ice Seal Dan. This thing was something that he had refined when he was in closed-door training back then, when he was trying to ascend and used to defend himself. Yu Xuelian and the others immediately followed Chen Xiang's instructions. They already knew that Chen Xiang was not an ordinary guy, and not just anyone could have had that poison just now. A burst of sound came from behind, followed by a wave of frost that engulfed the entire domain. The entire domain was immediately covered in this terrifying cold air, and many buildings were covered in a thick layer of frost. You guys are provoking the Heavenly Bull Immortal Palace. The Palace Master's angry roar had shattered a lot of ice and snow, but the Heaven Realm was still a world of ice and snow. Yu Xuelian had already taken out her transmission array plate, but now that no one was chasing after them, she could finally teleport peacefully. The four of them stood on top of the array discs. They had already seen the Immortal Kings leading the group Russ. HI plusing over. Chen Xiang had shot out a few more Destruction Ice Seal Dan, although it wouldn't cause any cold weather to the Immortal Kings, but it was still possible to delay them for a little while. It's open, Yu Xuelian shouted. At this time, she was also covered in cold sweat. If she was surrounded by this group of people, they would be dead. The transmission array flashed, and Chen Xiang and the three women disappeared. In that instant, a few destructive Ice Seal Dan-s exploded, and an even wilder and more berserk icy cold power wreaked havoc in the entire Heavenly Bull region. In that instant, these Immortal Kings worked together to set up a barrier, trying to seal the SPAC and prevent them from teleporting away. However, they were still a step too slow, because Chen Xiang and the rest had already appeared in a large mountain. That was close. Yu Xuelian closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then, he sat down on the ground weakly, leaning against a large tree. Although they could escape death, Mu Jialan and Yao Shumi were still in a state of shock. Their faces were pale white, and had yet to recover from the shock. On the other hand, Chen Xiang started laughing loudly with his hands on his hips, causing the three women to look at him as if he was a monster. However, they had no choice but to admit that without Chen Xiang's help a few times, they would definitely not be able to safely escape. Chen Xiang had encountered this kind of situation too many times, and he had a lot of experience in escaping from death, so he was currently very calm. Now that the Holy Spirit Rabbit was in his hands, the next thing to do was to distribute them, and he had already agreed to each of them.